your beliefs at the door, the round table. Where knowledge is the only currency. Sign at the studios, Black News 102, the round table. The round table. Welcome to the round table. Leave your beliefs at the door, the round table. Where knowledge is the only currency. Sign at the studios, Black News 102, the round table. The round table. Welcome to the round table. Leave your beliefs at the door, the round table. Where knowledge is the only currency. Sign at the studios, Black News 102, the round table. The round table. Welcome to the round table, 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 table. Welcome to the round table. Leave your beliefs at the door, the round table. Where knowledge is the only currency. Sign at the studios, Black News 102, the round table. The round table. Welcome to the round table. Leave your beliefs at the door, the round table. Where knowledge is the only currency. Sign at the studios, Black News 102, the round table.
I can hear you.
Hey, we're live, Yara. Sonetter's on the phone. I don't know where everybody else is, but this is the new stream.
Oh, I don't know where they. Yeah, I could see. I saw your I saw the new setup, the new show. I don't know.
Sonetter said that Morpheus is somewhere else. Where's he at, Sonetter? We're live. They can hear you.
They probably back on that old link.
Are they on the old link? Maybe Sonetter. Oh, he put me on hold. They're probably on the old link.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is wild. But how are we transmitting? That's why I wanted to start the live.
Yes.
Let everybody know. So
good question.
Let's see. Oh, you're the only one out there. Nobody. This is a very. This channel doesn't get a lot of traffic, so
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm on hold right now.
Okay.
Let me mute out and see what's going on. I'm gonna play the music. Okay.
Yeah, I'll stay here.
All right. Oh wait, hold on. Here's King J. Okay. All right. So we're in the right channel. We'll just see what's going on. I'll mute out.
Cool. All right. Peace, family. Peace, family. Y'all come on in. What's good with you, King J?
Man, can't call it. Man, just excited to be here. I just talked to Morpheus, so he should be jumping right on too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, this is a channel that's not really hasn't been really frequented.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take a second to really get it, get everything straight, get the kinks worked out. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's good, man. So
where do you stand on the case? Yara, are you taking the affirmative or what do you think?
Yeah, I'm taking the affirmative. That definitely he was a historical figure.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, whether or not we have a body, those who Morpheus and I think God Energy are calling what they're referring to the Gospels as the affidavits. And what they attempted to do is to try to impeach the Gospels, right? Yeah, that's what they attempted to do last week. That was really their language.
Okay, so
yeah, so and so this is sort of the conclusion of that, and then we're going to go on to another topic. Yeah, so that's how we started again. We talked about Joseph of Arimathea, different things like that. Hold on one second, family. It's Morpheus.
So somebody's saying, again, Sir Ghouls, are you saying that is it okay? Are we coming in clear to our dear audience? Are we coming in clear? Let us know.
Yeah, because we can hear good back here, but like you say, this is our StreamYard, so.
Okay,
Maybe-
Morpheus just called.
Right.
I'm about to send him the link because
Please.
he can't find us. So I'm about to brought out that the Gospels would, again, that they were what they were referring to as the affidavits were some, and trying to impeach those witnesses, right? So so they talked about Joseph. I mean, they talked about Joseph of Arimathea.
Yeah.
They also talked about, and then this is how we got to Mark, because one of the arguments that they attempted to use, or Morpheus attempted to use to impeach the gospel witnesses, was that they were anonymous, and
okay.
scholars, and so we don't really know who wrote them. Right? Sister Napon and I made the case that they are valid.
Still think that, as far as that's concerned. But
everybody, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
we can hear you.
Okay.
We were just talking to see if the audience was able to hear better, and it seems like they're saying that they can.
They can. Okay.
Yeah, some are saying it's still buffering.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell's going on. Like you said, it must be something with StreamYard. You know what I mean?
It's possible. It's possible.
Like it's getting better. Okay.
Yeah, last week was we didn't have no technical issues last week. You know, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, right. If you don't mind, can I lay out my methodology? Can come into
don't lay it out. No,
not yet. Okay.
Yeah. Wait for your 5 minutes.
Okay.
Let me see something. I'm going to experiment with something because I will private it. Because last week the only difference now is that we are only on this one for the YouTube. Okay. This channel. So let me see something here. Okay, it's only going to be on this channel. It's only going to transmit on this channel publicly. If you see me, I think Brother Reggie's here. So we're still only on the Roundtable channel. I want to ask, how's it going now? Can you guys, to the audience, audience members, how are we doing now? Let's go around the whole panel and see. Morpheus, you want to talk, and we'll have people give us some feedback from the chat. Is it still buffering or not?
Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. Am I coming through? I just want to know.
You said it's better.
They're saying it's better.
Okay.
Better. What about Dr. Reggie? Go ahead and give us a mic check.
Yeah. You're getting thumbs up now. They said they can hear. Hey, Napon, Sister Napon, you hit it. Grand slam.
I really think it was the channel, y'all. It was the channel.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's getting better. Let's hope that it stays this way. Okay. So we still are doing it only on the Roundtable. What I did was link it for the main channel, but I privated it on the main channel. Get it? So I don't know why, but I'm hoping this is better. Somebody said not buffering. How wild is that, though?
Yeah. Hey,
okay.
We would have never figured it out in the park.
Thank you. I know how to rig stuff up. I'm not going to use the other word, but rig it up.
My teacher used to say the error is human, but to truly F up takes a computer.
Yeah, right. I know. Okay, so let's just hope this works. And are we all? Oh, we're waiting on God Energy, right? Oh wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm about to I'm texting him right now as we speak. But y'all can continue to compensate.
Yes.
King J. The only reason why I said that because I don't want to give away anybody's methodology or anything. It's like everybody gets to when you get your time, go
rock out.
Yeah, rock out.
That's what's gonna make it interesting. You know what I mean? Because I don't know your methodology. I don't know his methodology or hers or anybody else, but that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah,
everybody to hear, you know what I mean? Everybody's methodology and their
yes.
conclusion. Because whatever your conclusion is, what's interesting is how you came to the conclusion that you came to. You feel me? So we can see, what you use or method you use to form your conclusion.
Yes,
yeah.
Yeah, I think you're kind of freezing when you, from my end. Is that just me, guys, with Morpheus?
Am I freezing?
Is that just me?
I hear a little bit of
Borging.
Yeah, a little bit. Yep.
If you want to keep your camera on, that's perfectly fine. But I don't know if you want to try it without it. It's unfortunate.
How about right now? Am I keep talking? Am I talking as I'm talking? As I'm talking, is any glitches? Is anything happening?
No glitches, no Borging. Sounds good.
So the bandwidth, it might be the bandwidth. That's the problem. Because the more your camera's on, everybody's camera's on, then it's using more bandwidth.
Okay.
Right, I believe that. Okay, good. We're all present.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We are back bolder and better than ever. Right? So let's pick up. We apologize for the technical difficulties. We're trying to get it together. Hopefully this is better. I thank you, Nepal, for trying to get work this out.
My pleasure.
And Brother Reggie as well, and everybody. So let's pick up where we were in Yawa. Maybe you want to start over. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yep, I'm gonna be.
So you are arguing in the positive, correct?
Yes, I'm arguing in the affirmative. I know you guys tried
affirmative, right?
Yeah. You guys tried to impeach a plethora of witnesses last week that I deemed and others deemed to find to be credible. And so we're just going to go through that. So I just want to start real briefly, and then I want to just go into it. So let me share my screen really quickly. You guys let me know if you can see it.
So what we'll do is we'll do one in affirmative, like the next one would be in what's the opposite of affirmative?
It's the negative. Yep.
The negative.
Yep.
Right. The negative. And go back and forth. Exactly.
Yeah, okay. That sounds great. So I know that we sort of ended, if y'all can see my screen, we sort of ended on the note you guys were fighting real hard to impeach Mark, right? And so I wanted to bring this out, right? Because part of your argument was based on the fact that Mark is anonymous throughout the Gospels. Like we don't know who Mark was, or Mark has been misidentified or not identified, right? And so that the canons was sort of just named sort of willy-nilly, right? Because, we don't really know who wrote them. But we came with the rebuttal sort of to that argument and says, if you actually go into the New Testament writings, or if you go into the book of Acts, which has been attributed to Luke as the author by most theological scholars, Luke is the writer of Acts. And so if you go into Acts chapter 15, verse 37, it says, Barnabas wanted to take John, also called Mark, right? Or Barnabas wanted to take John, also called Mark, with them. Barnabas agreed and wanted take along John Mark. So that's Acts chapter 15, verse 37. Then it gets a little bit deeper into the identity of Mark, right? So Acts 12:12. And when he had realized this, he went to the house of Mary, the mother of John, also called Mark, right? let's do this again. Acts chapter 12, verse 25. When Barnabas and Saul had fulfilled their mission to Jerusalem, they returned, taking with them John, also called Mark, right? So Mark 6, right? And 20, because Herod feared John, right? And protected him, knowing he was a righteous and holy man. Now, this John here is John the Baptist. So here's what I wanted to bring this out is because I wanted to show that Mark is writing about John the Baptist and making a distinction of who this is, right? So we know that this Mark mentioned here, right, who's been attributed to this book here, 6 and 20, this Mark, that he's not John the Baptist, right? So we're not talking about John the Baptist. So we know at least in 3 separate instances that John is also called Mark. And so goes the theological consensus that actually the writer of Mark is actually John Mark, or his name would be Yehukanai, right? Or if I'm pronouncing that correctly for John, right? That's what his name would be. And so then we actually have other, let's go here, other eyewitnesses that I wanted to introduce, right? So we talk about multiple independent attestations and early documentation accounts, right, of these events, right? Corroborations, hostile and neutral sources. And we're talking about these are extra biblical sources, right? We're talking about people who really don't have any skin in the game when it comes to validating these eyewitness accounts, right? So let me go into here, right? We talked about Flavius Josephus. They tried to what is it? They tried to impeach Flavius Josephus last week, right? We talked about Pontius Pilate. We know Pontius Pilate was actually there in the story. He's attested to in extra biblical sources, right? Here's the Pontius Pilate inscription, right? Josephus mentions him, right, being at the trial of Yeshua, right? So we know this as well. We have Gaius Suetonius Tranquillus from 69 AD to 122 AD, right? He actually talks about the disturbances of Christ, the instigation of Christ, right? He also writes about this, right? In the manuscripts of Suetonius, the name Christ appears as Christos, right? We have Cornelius Tacitus, right? In the Annals 1544, he explicitly talks about Jesus during the writings Emperor Nero. He talks first about the Christian sect. And here's what I want to say: we're having all these references to Christian. People say, well, they don't never mention Christ's name. They don't never mention Jesus' name directly. Well, who are they referring to when they're talking about Christians, right? They're talking about Christ. The Christians just simply means Christ-like. Also, the Bible tells us that the first the Israelites were first called Christian in Antioch, right? And it was a derogatory term, right? So even for that name to be taken forward, it wasn't worn initially as a badge of honor, right? That name was placed upon them to mock them, right? And who were they mocking? The crucified Savior, right? They were mocking them, right? And so, but as they continued, they began to wear it as a badge of honor, right? Who else can we talk about? Pliny the Younger, right? I believe his name was mentioned at some time last week. It says, "Thee who denied that they were or ever had been Christians, when they swore before me, called on the gods, and offered incense and wine to your image, which I had ordered, brought in for the purpose, along with the images of God, they also curse Christ, which is said it is possible to force those who are real Christians to do." Right? So this is Pliny to the Emperor Trajan. Y'all let me know when my time is ending so I can close out, because I think I've been going about 5 minutes.
I don't think it's 5 minutes yet.
Okay. So Pliny the Younger. All right, we have Lucian.
4.5 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Lucian. Someone says he talks about moreover that that first lawgiver of theirs persuaded them that they are all brothers the moment they transgressed and denied Greek gods and began worshiping that crucified sophist and living by his laws. Right. So who he's referring to? Right? Who's Suetonius? Who's Lucian is referring to in 115 CE? Right. Let's keep going. We have Celsus. Right. He talks about in the true doctrine, or is the true word, right? He says, but what he did not do was argue that Christianity should not be tolerated because Christ never existed. And I'm saying that was one of Suetonius' points, even though he is a second century author. That was one of you guys' pushback as well in his refutation, or Origen's refutation. They mentioned Celsus, and Celsus puts back at these Christianity. Although these people were not Christians, they had no affinity for the Christians, right? But one thing they never did was say he did not exist, right? Or that the witnesses, right, who carried on the acts in the life of Christ, they never denied these people. They never said that they were made up by the Roman government. They never said that they were made up by the Jews. They never said that they were made up by any group. They never said these people were not real people, including those who the Gospels were attributed to, right? No one ever says, even it doesn't matter if they're only writing in the second century. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. No one ever said they didn't exist. Appreciate you, Savio. That's good.
So I got a stopwatch, and I'm gonna start using the stopwatch. Can somebody tell me what channel this is on so I can? Because today's my birthday, and I wanted to put my
happy birthday, brother.
Hey,
happy birthday, man. Happy birthday.
I'm 48. Yeah, I'm 48 today, you guys.
Okay.
I'm entering the elder age.
You're OG right now. Yeah, OG.
All right.
See you, man.
All right, that was good. That was good.
No, you're not entering the elder age, but happy birthday.
What up, Reggie, my dog?
All right. So thank you for that.
I think the stop time, the stopwatch is good. I think that's good.
Yeah, what channel was this on?
This is on what channel? What are we on?
It's on the Roundtable channel. I think Sonetta dropped a link in the HOK, the previous stream, but it's on the Roundtable
channel.
Yes.
Wow. Didn't know that one. So how would I find the Roundtable channel?
Roundtable 101.
Roundtable 101.
Called the Globe Podcast.
Go to
That's
where?
That's not how I found it, Reggie. I just looked at one. I typed in the Roundtable 101 and it popped right on up.
The Roundtable 101?
Yeah. It popped up for me too.
Okay. I'm gonna type that in and see if it pops up. I'm seeing a bunch of ladies featuring Samantha Pauly.
No, that's not the one. This is other. Keep going, man.
Is there a space between Roundtable? Or is it one word?
That's a good question.
Yeah, let me go back and look.
Okay, we can move on. We can move on. You gotta move on.
Yeah. So
all right, I found it.
Okay.
Did you feel y'all right? Did you feel you had enough time? Do you think you needed a little bit more?
No. Hey, it's a lot of people on here, man. 5 minutes is good. If we gonna come back around or whatever, and we can surmise, that's cool. But if not, man, I think that 5 minute stopwatch thing is good, man. You know, we just gotta perfect getting it out.
And Morpheus, oh my bad. Morpheus, real quick. What do you say about, because I'm listening to Yara's arguments, and I have a lot of the same talking points because I'm taking an affirmative as well. So should all the affirmatives just get it all out, and then the negative respond that way? You can respond to all of the affirmative.
What are you arguing the affirmative to? I just want to make sure you understand the options.
My argument is in regards to historical Jesus. The historicity of a historical Jesus, using primary sources to prove his physical, his historical existence.
No, that's not the argument. That's not the argument. That's not the case. Remember, we're trying to find the. Let me be clear, okay? The claim, right, is that Jesus, existed. Yes, that's one part, but not the existing part that he died and resurrected. That's the whole case, the whole story. That's the whole story.
Well, that's two different. So I would like to. So let me get my argument out, and then I can get into that second part because it's connected. Because I think you have to first establish him as a historical figure to attach any divinity to him at all, right?
Okay.
And that was decided until the Council of Nicaea, right? So because I think at that point it was no question that he was historical. He was a real figure at that point. They weren't even arguing the historicity of Jesus. They were arguing his divinity.
Tell us when your time starts.
You can start it now. So my methodology is this. First, I'm looking for.
Hold up. Let me get the stopwatch.
Yeah, that is good, Sabio. That's definitely good, bro.
King J, talk. You got more time.
Let's go. So first, my methodology is this. I'm looking for any multiple attestation, right? And then I'm looking for I'm dealing with the proximity between I'm dealing with the proximity between the event and any written record in regards to it, right? Then I'm going to go to any non-Christian primary sources that may speak about Jesus, right? To establish any sources that are unbiased. And then I'm going to go to the biblical sources and deal with them. So biblically.
So you're arguing, I just want to be clear. So you're arguing that he existed? Or
yes, I am. Yes, I am.
So you're not arguing about the death and resurrection?
Yes, I am. It's all that is tied into my argument.
Oh, okay. All right. So your affirmative is that he did die and was resurrected. So you believe? Okay, I got you. All right. Okay.
Okay. Well, no.
Start all over.
No. Okay.
That's why I'm kind of confused. You know what I mean?
No, because you made it clear. Because my argument is that
and I'm restarting it.
Okay, so but Murph, am I taking the negative or the affirmative if I'm saying that he exists as a historical person, but I question his divinity? I have a problem with the mythos that's attached to his name. I don't have a problem with the historical part. So am I taking the negative?
No, just start. Don't interrupt him.
Okay, let me go. So that's my methodology, right?
I'm starting the stop clock. Y'all gonna hear it.
Let's go. So my methodology is this. First, I'm looking for any multiple attestations of Jesus, right? I'm dealing with the proximity between those and any current, any written records that deal with that. Then I'm dealing with any non-Christian primary sources in regards to this, right? So first, I'm dealing with Josephus, of course. Josephus mentions Jesus twice. He mentions him in regards to a wise man named Jesus with good conduct and was very virtuous. He also mentions Jesus in a second occurrence in regards to James, the brother of Jesus. So this is a non-biblical source that I'm using. Then I will go to Tacitus, of course, as Jarrah mentioned. Tacitus confirms the timeline, so to speak, 56 CE to 120 CE. So we're looking during that time period in regards to his text, right? Tacitus reflects upon, speaks about the infliction, the pain and the torture that they were inflicting on the Christians during that time period, and alludes to how Jesus probably would have been crucified. So then I'm going to go to Romans 1 and 2, biblical sources, of course, Corinthians, Galatians, Philippians. Those are all biblical sources, of course. Then we can talk about Acts 9 and 2, I believe, where Saul talks about the followers of the way, right? So Jesus seems to be the leader of a cult or a sect called followers of the way. We can find the primary to that in Acts 9:2. We can talk about Acts 19:23, and we can talk about in Acts 24:14 in regards to Jesus and the followers of the way and being mentioned in that particular text. So basically, I'm using hostile Roman sources, right? That would reflect him. I'm using independent Jewish historical sources in Josephus, and I'm going with any first-hand witnesses such as Paul during that time period in regards to biblical sources. So that's my methodology in regards to establishing a historical figure named Jesus who was crucified by Pontius Pilate. So I'm using Tacitus, Josephus, and Paul in those regards. So that is my evidence in regards to historical Jesus. Then I would jump into the Council of Nicaea and discuss in regards to they, Irenaeus and them, and how they were discussing the substance of Jesus, not so much the historical, was he actual historical character, person, but his divinity. I think that was the more thing that was in question with them, was his divinity. The mythos that's attached to Jesus,
3 minutes.
I don't so too much agree with, because I can look at Romulus. We could talk about, Osiris as the, wine cult, resurrection deities. So I really think that he was a historical person and had certain mythos attached to him. So with that, I yield.
Okay. That was interesting. Because as I was listening to you, I was thinking, I said, no, since you're in the affirmative, somebody else should have went. You know what I mean? Because Yahweh started off in the affirmative. So what I was looking for was somebody in the negative.
In the negative, okay.
You feel me? But we let it go. But that's cool.
Me and y'all have most of the same talking points too. So that was good.
Yeah, because what? Okay. So everybody, I want you to stay focused on what we're asking for in this case, right? We're asking for. We're asking for witnesses to the murder, the death, and resurrection. That's the blunt of the whole case, right? You know what I mean? So me myself personally, I was looking for witnesses.
So I could have talked about the 4 women who were all in all gospels, right? That witnessed his resurrect, right? I should have brought those would have been in cases the 4 women, right? The women,
right?
Those are easy to refute.
Right, but if you're in the affirmative, you feel me? Somebody else should have went, and then you know what I mean. Then you should have came back. But it's cool. Okay. That's why I was confused on your position at first. That's why I kept asking.
Okay, my bad. That's not my apology. I didn't understand.
It's cool. It's cool.
All right.
I was going to say another question would be: you mentioned those witnesses, but those witnesses are witness to the death and resurrection part, which is the mythos part that we can associate to other people like Osiris, like you said. So even though you bring up those details, the dying and resurrection mythos is something is that something you do not stand with?
Because to be quite
we're not gonna question that right
okay,
now.
so you agree with Morpheus. So you agree with Morpheus on the negative of the death and resurrection aspect.
In those regards,
question them at this point. So the issue is we could question later. But
we can question later.
Are you ready, God Energy, to present since you was talking?
Sure.
And you could add those things into it.
All right.
That'd be good. That'd be good.
Yeah. So my big interest
hold on, God Energy. Hold on. When you start, I'm starting the timer.
All right.
Okay. So God Energy, your position, to be clear, lay your position out. You don't agree or don't believe in the story, and now you're going to present why you don't. Or am I correct? Okay.
Correct.
All right. Cool.
All right. Let's get it rocking. So, with this story, right? The affidavits are really interesting, and I'm glad we're analyzing these because, like I said, there's differences and discrepancies in these affidavits. Not only do these singular individuals like Mark have multiple affidavits. When you compare Mark, Luke, and Matthew, there's discrepancies between them as well, right? And when you talk about his death and resurrection, like taking the empty tomb, for instance, right? In Matthew mentions an earthquake and one angel rolling away the stone. Mark doesn't mention any of that. It mentions women finding the stone already rolled away and a young man inside. And Luke, he mentions two men in dazzling, spectacular clothes, right? So there's differences there when we talk about what happened with this empty tomb after Jesus' resurrection. And the discrepancy in the validity of these affidavits, like Luke, which the brother Yara mentioned, Luke has some issues with where Luke comes from, right? Because the author of Luke is shown to be borrowing from Marcion's Evangelion, right? Here's where Marcion has his relevance again. And this author of Luke adds on a genealogy and other elements to make what we know as canonical Luke, which did not exist in Marcion's Evangelion, which we know comes before canonical Luke. The editor of canonical Luke then attaches it to his own independent composition called Acts. So whoever redacted Luke, he created Acts. So this fictitious character of Luke did not create Acts as well. So this affidavit is completely in question, especially when you attach his Acts to it, because Acts was crafted as a sequel, right? So you can't use that as any valid attestation, right? And the name Luke, it derives from the pseudepigraphical epistles like Colossians and 2 Timothy. And it's in 2 Timothy 4:11 where it's clear that Luke then is named as Paul's faithful companion, right? So, and Timothy is in the early and mid 2nd century, right? Back to this dating. Both Luke and Acts in their present form depend on Josephus, like was mentioned, meaning they have to be after the year 93, placing them closer to the 2nd century. A source on that is Steve Mason in his work Josephus and the New Testament, page 251 to 295. The earliest known manuscript of Acts dates to the 3rd century. That's from Christopher Tuckett, the early text of Acts, right? Page 157 to 174. And there is no evidence to prove the use of Acts until 150 CE, halfway into the 2nd century. That's from Andrew Gregory, The Reception of Luke and Acts in the Period Before Irenaeus. So when we are using these affidavits to compare to each other, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, we have major discrepancies. Then when we look at the authenticity of the affidavits themselves, the authenticity of these affidavits come into question, which brings us back to how these documents were anonymously circulated. And we can reference Paula Fredrickson, right? What's the woman's name? Yeah, Dr. Paula Fredrickson, on how these things were circulated anonymously. And then the names get attributed later. And one example is that the name of Luke comes from the sub-apostolic work, the pseudepigraphical works of Colossians and 2 Timothy. So when you look at these affidavits, we really have to get into the discrepancies that we find within these affidavits to then even take their claims on Jesus's resurrection and death and crucifixion as valid. And so far, when you analyze these affidavits, the fact that they have discrepancies amongst each other calls into question their validity. Then the fact that their authorship is called into question, right? Their anonymous, ambiguous origin. This makes these affidavits very, very questionable and inadmissible. So, and with that, I want to yield my time and say we need to analyze these discrepancies to even find if these affidavits are valid to be taken as credible sources. Thank you.
Oh, okay, that was good. So that's a good round. Second round, when we shoot it back around, then everybody can have a chance to impeach whoever source that they want to impeach. But as we go around the second time, so okay, so that was good. That was good. So now we need another affirmative, which would be
you need another negative, and I'd like to be another negative, if it's all right.
I think we need
If
another.
you had two positives, go chill out.
Well, I don't know if King J was a positive because it was a little confusing. You know what I mean? about his position on.
Yeah, I don't think I'm a positive because I don't agree with the resurrection, the mythos attached to Jesus. So I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
There's been 2 negatives in a row so far. Me and King J have been 2 negatives.
All right.
So that would give us Sister Queen Nepal. You there?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm here. Mm-hmm.
Okay, the floor is yours to make your argument.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to start out with my strongest points, which are the oral tradition, the creeds. Many scholars and historians attest to the fact that every writing that we have that is a historical writing from ancient times started out as a oral transmission. So to back that up, there has been much analytical, observation. They've observed that these particular creeds, especially, not just the creeds, but even the Gospels, but these particular stories and the creeds were transmitted through the witnesses that we're talking about. You said you want to talk about the witnesses. The eyewitnesses told these stories months after the crucifixion. Can I share my screen or no? It's just
No.
Can you hear me?
No. You can share your screen, absolutely.
Oh, okay. So this is just an AI overview of some of the basic information that I'm going to start with the creeds, and but you can definitely the core, the information that that's going to be in this AI overview. Everybody can fact check it. So as you see, it says here. Okay, so authentic oral traditional and extra biblical information is what we're going to see a breakdown of. Early Christian creeds originate in pre-New Testament oral tradition, find parallel structure markers within early epistles. And by the way, the information that was presented last week about the stylostatistical method, the creeds are a part of the undisputed Paul letters, and they actually, when you run it through that particular stylostatistical that particular, I guess you could say, measurement, it shows, it adds more authenticity to the Paul undisputed letters. Why does it do that? Because it shows when Paul is speaking, there's a change in the tone and in the measurements that I think it's called Poisson and binomial. There's an actual change in the way it measures, the results of the measurements, and that shows that the creed is not of Paul. So it actually gives more weight and authenticity to the creed through that method that God Energy spoke about. By the way, the undisputed letters in there match up just fine, especially like with Pliny the Elder, Tacitus. I know I'm getting a little bit off track, but I just want to point that out, that the creeds being inserted in 1 Corinthians 15, when you use that measurement, it shows, it even authenticates Paul's undisputed letters even more. So I digress. So it says here, as you see, the scholars analyze these primitive formulas by looking at rhythmic creedal fragments embedded directly in the early text. Now, what I wanted to show you here with the AI is just the meat and potatoes. 1 Corinthians 15, 3-7, Philippians 2, 6-11, 1 Timothy 3, 16, and then those creeds that we present, which are the witnesses, with the oral transmission and the oral tradition, the witnesses that continue to repeat it, extra biblical information that corroborates it is the information that we have from Josephus, which if you run it through the stylostatistical measurements, it is authentic. As far as Josephus being the author. So Pliny the Younger, we have the information that's said in the creeds about his crucifixion, right? And that the people saw him as a God, that is corroborated in extra biblical information. So that's my strong point. And then getting to the crucifixion, so I can stop sharing that. We can always come back to this. There's also so much more information I have that I wrote on it, but I just wanted to show the AI overview. So then I wanted to do, so I'm doing all C's. I'm doing the creeds, the crucifixion, the Journal of American Medicine Association, the Journal of American Medicine Association. I did a whole study on the crucifixion.
1 minute left.
Thank you. The crucifixion of Christ. And it shows that he was absolutely dead at the time when he was taken down. Then we go to the claim, there's somebody needs to get mute out on my last 1 minute, please. So, and I'm also presenting that the people who were against Christ said they bribed guards to lie about the body, and they even said, yeah, the body's missing because they stole it. Why would they say the body was missing if they could have just easily gone to the tomb and said, here's the body? So I'm presenting that. And finally, I want to talk about, I want to present for my, as far as my position, the critical methods, actually how this information has been rigorously examined and the criteria that's used. So I'm going to talk about source and form compared to all the other historical information like Homer, Iliad, you understand, you know, so basically those are my, I understand that's time. Please don't do that. And so thank you very much.
Okay. Oh yeah. We don't give Nepal 2 more minutes because she's the only sister representing.
Yeah, we got to give her some more time.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and especially when she's finishing her thought. When someone's finishing her thought, yeah, just let them finish their thought. I think that was
let me say this. I vote to let the person finish their thought, even if the time,
my fault.
This is our first show here. We all still trying to figure it out.
Well, only to Nepal. No, the men they can man up. Only to Nepal.
You know what? Let me tell you, you are absolute gentlemen. I appreciate you, Morpheus and Reggie. I was done, so I appreciate you brothers acknowledging that. And yeah, I was done. So thank you so much. I'm good. I can hand the mic over. I'll have another chance. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, because after that we finished, and we're gonna go around one more time, and you know what I mean. Everybody can, you know, whoever's speaking can impeach or whatever, you know, go from there. So at this point, Sabio, you're up. Make your argument.
All right. So when we're talking about this person,
hold up. First of all, hold up. When you start, I'm sorry. Is your argument in the affirmative or the negative?
The negative.
Okay.
The negative. I am in the negative, and everyone listen. So when we start talking about this, when we talk about this person named Jesus mentioned in the Gospels, if you're looking at him from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you're already starting from a faulty angle. Why? Because as everyone here should be aware of, the earliest letters of the New Testament would be the epistles of Paul. And Paul, according to his letters, did not know any one of Jesus's family members. We could speculate about the Galatians verse where he talks about brothers of the Lord and try to throw that hypothetical in about how it may be mentioning James, but we're not 100% certain on that. So if you're starting from the Gospels, you're already starting off wrong, because Paul's Jesus was a mythical guy that was resurrected and crucified in the sky. Nothing historical. He would be the earliest person that would be able to mention anything about his life, ministry, his family. all of that. And we have nothing from Paul in his letters. Absolutely nothing except the so-called passage about James. So at this point, anything that any person that you're referencing is after Paul's death and after Jesus's death. So Josephus and everyone else referenced are later interpolations, because these people happened to be followers of the faith and church fathers and things like that. So what you are doing is you're specially pleading, and I don't understand how, if we are trying to get to the actual verdict, if this person existed, we're doing that from a faulty standpoint. If we're not going to look at the New Testament from the actual construction of the New Testament, which would be the epistles of Paul, and then the so-called New Testament authors, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, who we all know, no one knows who wrote those letters. We're just playing a game. And it's not fair to those people who aren't studied, who may not know, who may just be believing something because they've been taught. I'm a person that recognizes that we have been enculturated by a belief system that is anti-African, anti-Black. And if we are to unpack this and really get to some solutions, we are going to have to really be real and recognize that this story is a cultural tale for those people in that area, and that this person who is supposed to come back and save us from our sins, who asked his God, who some Christians and some Hebrew Israelites will say is God, when he was being crucified, talked to God on the cross, didn't exist. It's a story. It's a cultural story, and for a cultural situation, for a situation for people that was going through things. And I'm at 3 minutes, 20 seconds. So my case is based off of the actual construction of the New Testament, which would be the Pauline epistles. And if you're looking at Jesus from the from the authors of from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, then you're already starting off faulty. And I yield at 3:42.
Okay. So we got thank you for that. Everybody who's presenting good arguments on all sides.
I didn't present.
I'm about to introduce you.
Can I finish? I forgot one thing. I did forget one thing, Morpheus. I forgot. I wanted to read this, and this comes from Richard C. Miller. All right.
Okay.
This comes from Richard C. Miller. Rome killed the myth. The code reversed the verdict. The cross was the rude collision of Christian mythology with historical reality. Whatever claims had gathered around Jesus, Rome returned him to ordinary human scale with brutal finality. Arrested, degraded, executed, discarded. The claimant died and no kingdom came. The heavens did not intervene. Sobering history had rendered its verdict. Yet the code refused that verdict and painted over the collision so completely that defeat itself became the supreme divine plan. Betrayal fulfilled sacred oracles. Mockery became coronation. Roman execution became cosmic atonement. Death became victory. And the missing body became divine translation. Every feature that should have returned Jesus to mundane existence was reassigned a deeper metaphysical meaning. The cross did not demythologize him. It mythologized an abrupt historical disgrace. This is why the Gospels are not biographies distorted by embellishment. There are thick, cultic mythographies constructed over the obscure ignominy of a Roman prosecution. Whatever crushed zealot may have lain beneath the movement, whatever
Okay.
crushed zealot may have lain beneath the movement, the narrated Jesus is not an informative reflection of that man. The executed man was the occasion of the Gospels, not their object. Rome destroyed the body. The coat defiantly reversed the meaning. This was the moral architecture of Christian origin.
Wow.
And that's time now. That's 5 minutes. Right now when I finish. I'm looking at my clock. I'm looking at my stock clock.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sabio.
No, I think that was 7 minutes, but I just consider that I gave you my 2 minutes, Sabio. That was 7, but it's good. Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank Sabio for his affirmative argument.
Yara, I think next time we got to give you a little bit more time because
it's all good, man. No.
Timekeeper. Watch the timekeeper, boy.
Right?
Hey, Sabio, I ain't mad at you.
That was 5 minutes.
No, you know what? Wait, you know what we call that in baking? Called a baker's dozen. That's what you did. You put the time.
That's called 5 minutes.
Okay, it's all
I got
good.
the juice now.
It's all good. All right, brother Reggie, brother Reggie.
Yeah.
You have the floor to make your argument in the affirmative or the negative. The question on the floor, we're still trying to look at this story as a case. Is there a case? So
I'm sharing my screen. Okay, so in my 61 years, I've actually...
Ray, can you turn yourself up a little bit louder, please?
Can't turn myself up, but I could talk louder.
Okay.
Right? Can you hear me? Okay,
Yes.
in my 61 years, I've been involved in several cases, and I've been involved in at least two murder cases, mostly drug cases, civil rights cases, and a defamation case, right? Okay, so I've been involved in a real murder case that I would have had to go before the judge if the case was called. But the case wasn't called because the prosecution was messing with the law firm that I was involved in, and the prosecution had the wrong suspect and was blaming us for fighting to get our person that we were representing out of jail, and they had the wrong suspect. So they were blaming us, and then they lost, and they lost. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if this is a real cold case, then let's treat it like one. A real cold case starts with basic questions. Who is the alleged victim? What is the alleged act? What physical evidence do we have? What official records do we have? And who are the qualified witnesses? Here, the claim is that Jesus was executed under Roman authority with Pontius Pilate involved, Caiaphas involved, Herod in the political background, and later followers preserving the story. Fine. But once you leave the church language and step into evidentiary language, this case gets weak very fast. First, there's no body, no DNA, no execution record, no Roman docket, no Judean court minutes, and no contemporary forensic file. That means the case rises or falls on witness quality and documentary pedigree. Second, let's separate included evidence from excluded evidence. Included for context are names like Pontius Pilate, Caiaphas, Annas, and Herod, because those figures belong to real first century political settings. Included in a limited way are later external writers like Josephus and Tacitus, because they show that by the late first and early second century, people were talking about Jesus or Christus and about Christian as a movement, only for that reason. But that is all that Josephus and Tacitus give you. Later attestations to belief in movements, not a police report or the killing. Josephus is late, Tacitus is late, and both are outside the event itself. So there are no eyewitnesses, no arresting officers, no trial clerks, and no custodians of the body. Now let's deal with the biblical affidavits. If you keep the biblical affidavits, then you must classify them honestly. Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John are not automatically thrown out, but they cannot be treated as if they were direct courtroom depositions. Mark is the earliest gospel writer discussed, and the panel itself acknowledged that Mark did not know Jesus personally and writes decades after the alleged death. That makes Mark at best late hearsay with theological motive, not firsthand testimony. The same problem hits the rest of the gospel file. The women witnesses, Jesus' mother, Mary Magdalene, and the women associated with him matter because the story uses them as discovery witnesses tied to death, burial, and tomb tradition. But we do not have their signed statements, their independent writings, or external corroborations of their testimony. We only have later male-oriented narratives reports saying that these women allegedly saw and said. So even if you keep these women witnesses in the file, what you are really keeping is secondhand literary reporting about them, not directly preserved testimony for them. Now let's take Paul. The panel itself said Paul, well, most of the people should be excluded, not the apologists, but Paul should be excluded because his attestation is visionary and supernatural. If this is a cold case, visions are inadmissible. So Paul may tell you something about later belief, but cannot function as a homicide witness to the death itself. Then there is Joseph of Arimathea, and this is where the case gets especially fragile. Joseph is supposed to be supposedly the burial link, the man who gets the body, handles the body, and puts the body in a tomb. In any real cold case, chain of custody matters. But Joseph of Arimathea is not independently verified in the material presented. He exists only inside the same narrative tradition that needs him. So the very man who is supposedly secure the burial and tomb custody is one of the least independently established figures in the whole file. So here is the proper ruling. You could keep Pilate, Caiaphas, Herod, and the broader Roman Judean settings for context, keep Josephus and Tacitus only as later external confirmations that a movement existed and that people later said its founding had been executed. Keep the Gospels only as internal religious narratives that contain claims requiring corroboration, not as self-authenticating affidavits. Keep the women witnesses only in that same limited sense, reported witnesses inside the tradition, not independently secured testimony. Exclude Paul as a homicide witness because vision is not evidence. So once you apply the rules that I talked about and the rules that I know that goes into court, what do you actually have? You have a plausible historical setting, real rulers, real priestly elites, later Christian beliefs, and late literary claims. What you do not have is a body, a trial record, a chain of custody, a contemporaneous neutral witness, or independently preserved testimony from Jesus. Mary Magdalene, Jesus' mother, Joseph of Arimathea, Peter, John, or any of the so-called 12. That means this is not a solved cold case, can't be solved. It's a later theological case file built inside real historical settings, but the closer you get to the actual alleged homicide, wrongful death, murder, the weaker and more dependent the evidence becomes. And that is exactly why the case does not meet a proper evidentiary standard in real law. It does not, right? You have no body, you have no forensic. The one person that the body was handed over to, you don't have him living in real life, right? So the chain of custody of the body is fragile. Now, in real cases, sometimes there are aliases. There's a person under assumed name, blah, 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 right? But what you do have, and sometimes even with that, you don't have a body, right? So cold cases are hard to solve, but the evidence in this particular case, if you don't have a chain of custody of the Bible, you don't have a cold, you have what you can call a cold case, but by evidentiary rules, all you have is really hearsay from the same circular Bible type, how can I say, reference, but externally, you don't have anything that's really going to help us, because we really need, if we had Joseph of Arimathea, wow, that would be really great. But we don't have that. Now, the Christians, Hebrew Israelites, they will argue around trying to associate some bones that were found and some things like that. They will do that, and they have a right to do that. That's not a problem. But the problem is okay, test the bones. So if you have the bones of any of Jesus's family, then you have some DNA. You do that. And that DNA counts, because then you can find other people related to that person. And those people that's related to that person, right? Well, we're going to have to see if it matches the biblical story. But I don't think that they want to test those bones in the ossuary for the fact that you got three major religions fighting. You got the Hebrews against it, you got the Christians for it, and you got the Muslims against it. And that in itself could create a world war, right? The bones of Jesus's DNA, right? If you have the bones of DNA, whoever controls that, that says holy as holy can get. Now, so the cold case has political reasons why it can't not be solved. Believers can believe what they want and respect them. I respect them.
I said 9 minutes, Reggie.
You gave me 9 minutes?
I left this. I went out. I took my puppy outside to use the bathroom and left the stopwatch in him. My bad.
Yeah, you did have more than 5, but that's cool.
So what?
What?
That wasn't my fault. I ended it. Show me the evidentiary.
My bad, OG. I said my bad, OG.
No, it was good for me. It was good for me too. I don't care.
Go ahead, rock out, Dr. Reggie. Rock out. Finish your point.
Yeah,
My brother.
What you think this is a debate that I just had? You want to rule it after the fact?
Yo, relax.
What's going on?
I'm just messing with
Reggie crazy. Reggie silly.
It's all good. No, that was good. That was a great argument you put forth. Definitely. Okay. I guess you think maybe I should save mine for second go around, or end it, or what I think, or should I go?
If you want to go,
I think you should get your words in, brother. I think you should add your evidence to the table.
Okay. All right. Let me do this now. Okay. My argument is in the negative. I'm not convinced of the story, and I'll tell you why I'm not convinced. My approach is first chronology, right? I hear the claim in the story, and then I look at the chronology. I first rule out Paul, right? Because if the question is as a witness to the murder and resurrection, and the life and the murder, wrongful death, whatever you want to call it, in the murder, I have to rule. In my method, I have to rule Paul out because, as you said, a few people said Paul is not a witness, and I'm looking for a witness to the murder. Paul is not. Paul's only attestation is a vision that he had. So I have to rule Paul out on that, right? Because he's not a witness, if that's what I'm looking for. I have to impeach Mark, as I did last week, because first thing is to look at the dates of the Gospels, so everybody is on the same page. What's a scholarly consensus on these affidavits? The Gospel of Mark is written around 65, 70. Now let's first establish the death of Jesus. Jesus dies, according to scholarly consensus, around 30, 33. So if the first gospel story or affidavit we get is the guy Mark, who's writing around the year 65, 70, that's about 40 years later, right? 30 to 40 years later. And he himself doesn't know Jesus. He never met him. So in my method, I have to rule him out because he's not an eyewitness to the life, death, or resurrection of Jesus at all. So in my method, I rule Mark out. Next, we go to the Gospel of Matthew, who's written circa 80-85. Why do I rule Matthew out? Because something very interesting happens. Matthew dies around the year 60 to 65. So if someone can tell me how a guy who died in 60, 65 writes a gospel around 80, 85, that would be the miracle for me. For me, that would be the miracle. I'm like, hold up. The dude died in the 60s, 65? Yeah. But his gospel is written around 80, 85? Yeah. How does that happen? So for me, looking at the affidavit, I can't accept Matthew's gospel because whoever's writing this is not Matthew because he died 20 years before. And then when reading Matthew, I can see that the author or whoever's writing this has knowledge of the destruction, of the temple. They obviously have knowledge. They're writing things like Matthew 24, 17, 20, which says, let him who is on the rooftop not go down to take anything out of his house, and pray that your flight may not be in winter or on the Sabbath. This person who's writing this is talking about what's going on in 70 AD, right? And there is serious turmoil because the Romans is tearing them up. So whoever the author is of Matthew is aware of what's happening in 70 AD, right? And there's other attestations in Matthew that gives us the knowledge that the author knows what's going on. However, if the guy, like I said, Matthew died between 60 and 65, and this is written around 80 to 85, which is the accepted consensus, right? Then he cannot be the author of Matthew. So I can't rely on Matthew because his very affidavit is unreliable. I don't believe that he wrote them. And scholars don't believe also, a lot of scholars, even though it's argued back and forth, but I lean toward he couldn't have wrote this document if he died in 1960, 65. Okay. So when I'm looking at the gospel stories, right, and I'm going through them side by side, and looking at these affidavits, and then when I get to Luke, well, I don't think anyone disagrees that Luke didn't know Jesus. So I can't use Luke as an eyewitness to the life and death of Jesus because he's Paul's traveling companion. But he himself, even in the first chapter of Luke, he admits that he's writing about things that he heard in Luke chapter 1, right? Where he said, insomuch people are writing things that must surely believed amongst us, I decided it'd be good to me also to write things that must surely believed among us. Theophilus, I didn't quote it exactly correctly, but y'all know what I mean. So I rule out Paul as a witness. I got to rule out Mark because he didn't know him. I definitely have to rule out Matthew because he obviously is not the author of what we're reading, of the document of the gospel that we're reading of Matthew. I can't accept Luke said because once again, Luke is not a witness. He's a traveling companion of the first guy who I throw out in my method. That leaves us with only one, John. Okay. So if we're looking at John, the date of John is written around with accepted date between circa 90 to 95. So if Jesus died around 30, and this gospel or affidavit is dated 90 to 95, that's over 50 years. That's over 50 years. Now, when it comes to John, there's reason to believe that John is not even the author of John. It is accepted a lot and argued in academia that there is what's known as the Johannine community, right? That is the writer of John. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the Johannine I'm sure y'all do.
You at 6 minutes. I am.
Okay, I'm gonna close right there. So I'm gonna stop there until next go around. But this is the reason that I, Morpheus, am not convinced, and I don't find the gospel stories reliable. And I'll end right there, and then we'll come back around. And yeah. So thank you very much for that. Big Brother Yara, you have a second round to impeach anybody who presented in the negative or present what you want to present.
Yeah, I want to impeach all y'all.
Okay.
So let me start with my good brother God Energy, right? Let's talk about Marcion, right? It seems to me that most of your argument is based on Marcion and where he records, which you seem to give a historical and almost an accurate depiction that you follow what Marcion actually says. But according to most theological scholars, Marcion is writing well after, and actually our good brother Morpheus just gave us a date on when most of those gospels were written. They were earlier in the 2nd century. I think Marcion is writing around 140, 145, something like that. So if Marcion, as I believe you stated, and I could be wrong, and you definitely can correct me, that he created certain characters, or he created Luke, or he created these sort of gospel writers, then how is it? So what are you saying?
I will wait my turn. I'm sorry, brother.
Oh no, I mean I don't mind it back and forth.
I was saying no, though. That wasn't what I was stating, but I'll let you go and have your full time uninterrupted.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So because we do have Marcion quoting from Mark. We have that, right? In various different texts. So it is obvious that at least before 144, when Marcion is writing, that he clearly has access to Mark, to the Gospel of Mark. Now let me talk about this really quickly, right? Let me show you guys something which I wanted to share. I want to share my screen because I wanted to read it really quickly. I couldn't find it, but I just want to read it really quickly.
Could you let him share his screen, please?
Sure.
Yeah, as soon as I start sharing, yep. As soon as I start sharing, yep. Yeah, so I just wanted to, let's talk about the what we actually know, right? If you can see my screen, right? So in regards to you in impeaching the writers of the gospel, right? So we know at around 180 180 CE, right? Well into the 2nd century, Irenaeus of Lyons wrote that Matthew also issued a written gospel among the Hebrews in their own dialect, right? Which would have been Galilean Aramaic or Aramaic at the time, right? While before Greek, right? Before Greek attestation, right? It says, while Peter and Paul were preaching in Rome and laying the foundation of the church after their departure, Mark, the disciple and interpreter of Peter, right? This also gives us another clue that Mark was the actual scribe of Peter. So when you say Mark didn't know this person, or Mark wasn't aware of this person, how could he know? Because we know that there's attestation that Mark was the actual scribe of the eyewitness person of Peter, right? Let's take that further in historical settings. I believe we don't have most of what Aristotle wrote except for the notes that his students left, right? So we can look at these things and see, going back further in antiquity, this is how you actually have to accurately frame it. Some Sabio, if you can let me know when I get to like my 1 minute mark. Did also hand down to us in writing what had been preached by Peter, right? It says Luke also, another person you tried to impeach, Brother Morpheus, Luke also, the companion of Paul, right, recorded in a book the gospel preached by him, right? After which John, right, who we also, I keep showing again and again, John's name was Mark. We know who Mark is. Mark is John, John is Mark, right? It says the disciple of the Lord, who also had leaned upon his breast, did himself publish a gospel during his residence at Ephesus in Asia. That's against the heresies 1 and 1. Then we have 50 years earlier than that date, right? Papias, right, puts us at about 100 CE, right at the beginning of the 2nd century. It says Bishop of Hierapolis in Asia Minor wrote, Matthew compiled the sayings of the Lord, right? Talking about Christ in the Aramaic language, right? So we have two separate attestations, right? That Matthew's gospel existed well into the 1st century, right? It says Bishop, and that he was an actual person. So Bishop of Hierapolis in Asia Minor wrote, Matthew compiled the sayings of the Lord in Aramaic language, and everyone translated them as well as he could. And this is in the explanation of the sayings of the Lord, cited by Eusebius in History of the Church 339. Sometime after 244, the scripture scholar Origen wrote, among the 4 gospels, which are the only indisputable ones, the only indisputable ones in the Church of God under heaven, I have learned by tradition that the first was written by Matthew, another person you tried to impeach, who was once a publican, according to the biblical narrative that we understand today, but afterwards an apostle of Jesus Christ, right? And it was prepared for the converts from Judaism and published in the Hebrew language. Commentaries on Matthew cited by Eusebius in the History of the Church, chapter 6, verse 25. Eusebius himself declared that Matthew had begun by preaching to the Hebrews, and when he had made up his mind to go to others too, he committed his own gospel to writing in his native tongue, Aramaic, so that for those with him he was no longer present. The gap left by his departure was filled by what he wrote, History of the Church 325. We have multiple attestations. Thank you. And again, I want to say this, Dr. Reggie, there have been plenty of cases, right? Let me find it real quick. I want to share it. There have been plenty of cases where we know people have been convicted of crimes and murders. Here it is. Without a body, right? Here's a young lady, no body homicide cases, right? Techniques for successful investigation and prosecution. So we know this is from the American Police Beat, Dan Willis, published in July 19, 2024. And he talks about a specific case, the case of Kim.
Hold on, Brother Yara. You're not sharing your screen. Is it something
I'm not?
Yeah, we still see the other thing.
Okay. Sorry about that. There you go.
Give him an extra 20 seconds.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's all I need. American Police Beat. There have been plethora of cases, no body homicide cases, right? That exists, right? Even today, without DNA. So it says this article highlights my investigation of Kim Williams' murder. Michael Green and his convicted. We have a person who was actually tried and convicted of a murder in 1999 without a body, without DNA, without a processed crime scene, and without a confession or admission. With the advances in technology since then, such prosecutions are even more possible today. So when you start looking at these things, a lot of what we have is there is a preponderance of evidence that is required in a murder trial, whether you have a body or not. And if we go through the Gospels, thank you. If we go through the Gospels, it clearly gives us the extra biblical sources that we have clearly a preponderance of evidence.
Good argument. Good argument, my brother. Cool. I like that. See, this is why I like this. I like this, how this is going. You know what I mean? Any thoughts? God Energy, you want to respond or get your other?
No, I'm just gonna wait my turn. I believe I'm after King J. I'll wait my turn.
Hey, King J, been quiet. All right, King J, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening. So I'm just waiting my turn.
Okay, you up, my brother. You are up.
Yeah, I was
I'ma
taking
start
notes
when you
because I
start
wanted.
speaking.
Okay, I'm ready. Go ahead and lock me in. So, yeah. So I'm definitely taking the negative.
Start.
I'm definitely taking the negative in this. I took some notes, basically just some notes, to kind of get my information down, my argument down, my impeachment down. So I'm going to talk about Osiris, Dionysus, and Romulus, right? So I'm going to talk about those three motifs, right? So when we talk about Osiris, Osiris is a god of resurrection, right? We can talk about the 3-day motif, the ritual 3-day motif, where we see acted out with Dionysus and Osiris in the rituals, right? In those rituals, we see Dionysus and Osir, their descent into darkness, right? Followed by some sort of resurrection or revelation, resurrection into out of that darkness. These dying and rising savior motifs, right? The narrative applied to Jesus, the suffering, the death, right? The descent into the underworld, um, really to me mirrors and explains previous ancient cycles used to conquer mortality, right? So looking at Dionysus as well, right? And Dionysus seems to be the god of wine, not only the god of wine, but the god of agriculture. Wine, we first see this concept or this motif with wine is blood with Dionysus. Dionysus is we find where wine is the blood of the life force of Dionysus or the actual god. We see in this motif by consuming the blood of the deity of Dionysus, they are some sort of way communing with Dionysus, right? This is identical to Matthew 26 verse 8, right? In the Bible where Jesus commands the wine to be the blood of the covenant, right? So this seems to mirror the older mystery systems, right? Where drinking wine or drinking blood represent or bring you communion with this particular deity, or so to speak, right? So just looking at and also looking at Dionysus as the twice born god, right? So we see resurrection in that as well. The fact that these are Hellenized Jews, right? To me, will make me think that they would be familiar with all sorts of Greek ideas. Not only Greek ideas, but familiar with the Greek mystery cults and any sort of Greek iconography. So I would think that they would be heavily influenced in Greek and familiar with Dionysus. Just like Dionysus was celebrated through meals where his followers partook in his flesh and his blood, we see the same thing with Jesus, right? In the Last Supper, in communion meals, et cetera, right? So these seems to be at direct parallels that these motifs are being applied to Jesus. So it seems as if these motifs of a rising God, the life-giving vine, right, and the communion ritual were historically and seems to be placed upon a historical Jewish prophet named Jesus. So I do not think there is a resurrection. I just think that these motifs were placed upon a historical figure named Jesus Christ. But I yield with that.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you for your
But
presentation.
can I say? But I want to say something. I don't know if I'm even done with my time yet. But I do want to say this because listening. So, but just listening to I initially held to the argument that there was a historical Jesus, but these motifs were just applied to it. But just listening further to the brother's argument and looking back at Romulus, right? So Romulus is the first king of Rome, correct?
Yes,
But he's not a historical figure. He's not a real person, correct?
that's correct.
That's correct. So now my position is even changing more that he's not even existing as a person, because now I'm thinking more about Romulus and how he is accredited to be the first king of Rome, but yet he's a mythological person. So
You have 10 seconds.
I would attach that same motif to Jesus Christ as well. And I yield.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. Last time you went, we went twice, right? We had King J and God Energy. I think maybe Nepal, you think you should go next, right? To follow him?
I think we should maybe stay in order. I don't want to step on anybody's toes.
Okay, then. So that's cool. So God Energy.
Thank you.
I don't mind. I don't mind if we want to keep the
You've
affirmative.
been needing to
negative.
respond. I'll go after you.
Yeah, because
Why
you might.
thank-
Yeah, because you might
why
hear
thank
something.
you, Nepal?
Hear something that you might want to impeach. You feel me?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it should be a positive next.
Okay. So it should be a well. We it's not really fair. It's not balanced because we got two affirmatives and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5. You know what I mean? Negative. So that's why I'm trying to figure.
Okay.
You know how we should do this. What do you think?
It's fine with me.
What
'cause
do you
then it
mean?
would be-
The way we keep in order? I think God Energy has been wanting to respond to Yara, so I don't have a problem going after him.
Okay. All right, God Energy, it's on you, brother.
All right, so the time should start. So the validity of the creeds don't lend to the credibility of the versions of the gospel. And really, if you can establish some oral creed that does hold consistent, all of this shows is that with all of the falsities in the gospels, those creeds are the only things that would lend any validity to them. And it's probably the only valid thing to them, having these creeds come from actual human beings. But that doesn't lend credibility to the gospels. With the stylometric statement, though, ignoring the text shows differences. That's what's disingenuous about focusing on the creeds, because with the stylometric data, it does point out, 3 of the 7 accepted gospels are written by different scribal schools, right? Ephesians, Colossians, and Thessalonians. So it's disingenuous to act like the stylometric data doesn't show that there are different scribes when it definitely does. To answer Marcion countered the addition of Luke Acts, right? And that's the gospel that has this special relationship with Marcion's Evangelion, is Luke, to clarify that up. And he countered Luke Acts with his known work, Antithesis. And in Antithesis, Marcion claimed that Luke is corrupted, using the Greek term adulteratum. This was quoted by Tertullian in his work against Marcion. The very name Luke was added as a false title. Again, Marcion made this claim, and that claim was preserved in Tertullian's against Marcion. So it was known since the time of Marcion that Luke was an added false name, right? The sub-apostolic name Luke derives from a late pseudepigraphical epistle, Colossians and 2 Timothy, right? So when you talk about these affidavits and their validity, they are completely in question. According to Marcion, the early Catholics are corrupting the Evangelion and attaching them to the Old Testament, right? So back to Dr. Paula Fredrickson, who is with Bart Ehrman, are the 2 leading scholars on this New Testament research. We don't know where in the Roman Empire these documents are being written. We don't know who wrote them. They were originally circulated anonymously. She specifically says anonymously. The names that we know them by are 2nd century tradition, attested in a 4th century document. So again, when you talk about these affidavits, they are 100% in question. She also says, we're not even sure what gospels we don't have, right? Alluding to what Yara was bringing up, that there is whispers and histories about an Aramaic version of Matthew. Well, we don't even know about those gospels, right? They don't know. Those documents that were chosen, Matthew, Mark, and Luke of the canon, were chosen for 4th century reasons to go into the canon. And Paula Fredrickson continues, starting outright there, we have a problem with the evidence we do have because of what is omitted. And one of those gospels that was omitted, I would like to admit into evidence, is a completely unknown 5th gospel known as the Egerton Gospel that was found. And that was a 2nd century gospel found in Egypt. It's a gospel never heard of It looks similar to the Gospels we know, but it's different. It has different stories, words, and they don't really know what the full content of this Egerton Gospel was. So just like Paula Fredrickson said, because these Romans are editing and canonizing these Gospels for their own means and own reasons, we don't even have a full depiction of other affidavits that were out there. And the affidavits that we do have are spurious. Like I pointed out, they were circulated anonymously, and the names were just slapped on there. We went through that in the first presentation. So amongst those spurious gospels, we have other gospels that were omitted, like Aramaic gospels, but we can't compare those affidavits because the Romans canonized what they canonized. And the Egerton gospel, we have as an example of gospels that were omitted. Did you say that was my full time? Do I have more time?
Sabio.
You got 1 minute and 30 seconds left.
Okay. Paula Fredrickson even continues about these spurious gospels. They're written probably sometime between 70 and 100, I'm guessing, but everybody does. There is no first century existence of these gospels. She said probably written sometime between 70 and 100, and she continues on to say, I'm guessing, but everybody does. They are all guessing. So when Morpheus laid out the accepted chronology for the Gospels, those are guesses that everyone does. And Dr. Paula Fredrickson's specific words are probably sometime between 70 and 100 AD. So her exact words are probably, and I'm guessing, and everyone does. So when we look at these gospels that we have as affidavits, they are not admissible. They're spurious, they are pseudepigraphical, and they are anonymous, with names like Matthew, Mark, Luke added afterwards.
Okay. You yield?
Yes, sir.
That was powerful. That was powerful presentation as well. Powerful argument.
He doesn't yield. He just finished. He's not yielding. He's standing on his 10 toes.
I'm standing 10 toes down, but I'm just finished with my argument. Thank you, Reggie.
I chose the wrong word, yield. I apologize. That was powerful. That was powerful. Okay, so now we're gonna move over to the Queen. It's your floor to make your argument on part 2. If you want to impeach somebody or, present more argument or whatever. Nepal?
Actually, I changed devices, so can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, yeah, great. Okay, so hopefully I can bring this up. Yeah, I asked ChatGPT.
Whoever's controlling the screen, could you take down what's there? Whoever's controlling.
I could do that, maybe. I'm just trying to. This is taking so long to load. So don't start my time until I can get this table that I asked him to make for me. In this stylometry, the stylo statistical information that was presented last week, and then the brother addressed it again. Those letters. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you fine.
Okay, let me share this screen. This is a pretty elaborate table, so bear with me. Can you see what I'm sharing?
Yeah, the Victorian imprint, yeah.
Right. So I just was going off after I found out about this information. I started adding everything in here. I was putting I was putting all kinds of different ancient historical texts in here. So I want to just point out, if you guys can see it, do I need to enlarge it? I don't think I'm going to need my whole.
No, we can see it. I mean, I can see it.
So these are different methods of the statistical metric system, the measurement system for the authenticity. Those letters are absolutely undisputed, and even when you use this, they're undisputed. So I don't know what our brother is talking about. Maybe he's looking at something else and he could direct me to it. But I'm trying to find the table that I asked. Okay, so this basically, I'm just going to read this little blurb. The statistical application of Poisson and binomial models to corporate text or corporate text evaluates the probability of rare word occurrences or binary style choices like specific conjunctions across comparative baselines. It really goes into the details, but no, it does.
Nepal, can I ask you a question real quick? Can you go back?
Yeah.
Because just like I'm sure I'm not the only one. Right there, stop, go back.
No, you come into her time.
No, you can just pause my time.
Well, I just want to know, be clear of what is what is that again?
These are the methods that he introduced last week that I wasn't familiar with, and then I started doing more research on it. So these are different methods of measuring the there's different statistics, different criteria. So we can just go if it doesn't cut into my time for everybody, right?
Yeah, you can
so
go
where can I get to this? To the top of this. So I knew nothing about this last week.
I paused it for you. I paused your time.
Nothing about this last week. So when God Energy brought this up, I was absolutely sure that the undisputed, the 7 undisputed letters were basically, as I said, undisputed, that they're authentic. But I had to find out about this information. So there are different methods, mathematical methods that are used by statisticians. I can't say it, like statisticians, people who are experts in statistics, right?
Statisticians.
Thank you, statisticians. I told you I couldn't say it. So, and this is the method that he brought up last week. These particular methods. So when you see computational stylometrics and the Pauling corpus, this right here, it says, it's just a blurb. These are different websites. The Apostle and the diction and phraseology do not seem to be Paul's Eusebius in modernity, stylometric analysis. So these are different websites that I pulled together in the AI that talk about this particular measurement. Again, like I said, it's really fantastic. I found out about it from God Energy, and I'm learning more about it. So when I went in and did my basic research on it, I found out that when you use this method that he's talking about, he's absolutely wrong. It's actually saying that they are authentic. So can we start? Is that okay? Can we start my time and I'll show you the table?
I thought that was the time.
No, how could he asked me a question? I was trying to present something.
Yeah.
Oh, that wasn't your time?
So your time starts.
Okay.
Your
I
time
wanted to show
starts
that
when
you are
start
wrong about
presenting.
this information and that we should keep this information because we're asking, should we keep Paul? So this is me presenting.
What you just showed was what I said before you.
No, I'm
scrolled
going to
down.
show you the table if I could get to it. For some reason, I was interrupted.
But Nepal, when is your time starting?
Yeah, when that's what I want to know.
Right now.
Because
Right now.
were you guys not here when Morpheus asked me to explain what this is?
Right. He interrupted her time.
Everybody went like blank or something, or what? Am I just
Right.
He
interrupted
her
time.
Her time.
Yeah.
Oh, the Paul playing chess, boy.
At
She's a
45
master chess player.
seconds.
Okay, first off, let me say this. This isn't my information. I knew zero about this last week. Recap. And my time isn't starting. The brother introduced this and said, I said, show me where the letters are not authentic. He said, here's this information. You guys don't remember last week?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, so as I said, I knew nothing about it, and I went and did some research, and I'm still doing research on it, trying to find out more about it. And as you see, I asked them to make a table for me. It says comparative corpus. Now I can start my time. Comparative corpus and statistical methods.
Time start.
Thank you. So these are all the different methods of stylometrics or stylostatistical measurements to determine what, the authenticity of the different historical writings from what I've found out so far in my research. So here we have 1 Corinthians 15. now you see how it says binomial application and Poisson application. These are different applications. So forgive me if I'm very crude in my explanation of it because I'm just learning up it, but there's different types of applications that can be used. As you see, 1 Corinthians 15, which is what I specifically go to for the creed, it says word count. It says typical stylometric focus, resurrection, vocabulary, unique theological terms, pre-Pauline creeds. Binomial application says the probability of specific choice within this short segment. And then it says application for the Poisson. I believe that's Poisson, or is that the binomial? Anyway, it says count of highly specific rare vocabulary items occurring in a short window. These are the undisputed letters. Romans 1 and 2, Romans and then Corinthians 1 and 2, Galatians, all of it is listed in this table. Establishes baseline success rate. That shows that you're wrong, my brother. It says established baseline success rate for grammatical binary particles. In the other method, it says model for the expected distribution of low frequency function words across all chapters. That's a positive. Gospel of Mark, it talks about that. It goes on and on. So I want to really get to the part where you say, see, when I put Pliny the Younger in there. Success rate of specific sentence connection particles across different recipients, modeling density of, so it breaks down different types of, through that criteria, it tells you if it's basically authentic or not. So I'm going to keep scrolling down because there's so much more. I want to get to the part where I think there's another table on here. Just give me a minute. It's a lot. It goes over long ending mark. Okay, here it is. In modern computational stylometry, mathematical distributions are not used to make absolute binary statements like a hard 0% or 100% confirmation of authenticity because language contains natural variations. Instead, models yield a posterior probability based on relative style matching or calculate p-value statistical probability that observed style markers occurred by sheer random chance. So that is talking about how it's working, right? I know there's another table. Okay, here it is. Here it is. So when we get to this, it says, let me get to the top of this. Probabilistic status, stylometric consensus, high profile fit, God energy. This is saying that it's authentic. Interpretation of status, validated as
That's a high profile fit.
Validated as fully Pauline.
That's right.
Isolated exceptions flag high specific quoted creeds.
That's right.
So this is all your method that you talked about is very, very complex, but I'm taking my time to learn it. The undisputed is showing that, obviously the opposite. It's talking about that it is not, how do you say, it doesn't fit into
30
those particular
seconds.
statistics. Now you can, yeah, thank you. But
Thank you. That was my point.
okay, so I put in the Gospel of Mark, but I'm focusing on the creeds and the undisputed. So again, I apologize that I am not fully well-versed in this, but the basics are here. This particular method undoubtedly indubitably shows that the creeds, the 1 Corinthians, and the undisputed letters are checking out as authentic with this method that you talked about. And you can always add in. I'd love to learn more. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Okay, that was a great presentation. Great argument. Great comeback.
That was fantastic.
Good. And next we're going to go to Sabio. Brother Sabio, you was next last time. So it's your turn, brother, to come back with your second half of your argument, rebuttal, or present more of your argument.
All right, so time starts. So all the special pleading that I'm hearing from people who did not exist, writing about a person who's supposed to exist and supposed to resurrect is kind of difficult to deal with. Why? Because they're using sources from people who were after the so-called incident. Origen, Tacitus, Josephus. No one has referenced what Paul actually wrote. They're all using the gospels and so-called believers of this religion who is after the so-called incident. So how can we actually get to the real evidence if we're not looking at the evidence that should be looked at? If you're going to use these mythological or these made-up characters, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, as presenting anything historical, you have to show where the historicity of this person stems from. And it cannot be from anything outside of the Pauline epistles. So if Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John used Paul, where is the references to the historical Jesus in Paul? You can't make them up and fabricate them because you hold on to a belief. And if that's what we're doing, then this conversation is just going to be circular, and it's difficult to actually get anywhere based off of beliefs. We have to throw the beliefs to the side and let the evidence and the information speak for itself and determine with logic, reason, intuition, and reason if those things are factual or not. So if we're just guesstimating based off of four people, four letters from four different people who have four different attestations, four different stories about this so-called historical person, what are we actually doing? Are we playing a guessing game with each other? Or is it just based off of what we have been taught to believe out of tradition? And because we are raised in a Christian culture and our ancestors was able to liberate themselves using some passages from this book. These are the questions that we really have to wrestle with. And if we're not going to wrestle with them, all we're doing is just talking at each other. And with that, I yield my time.
Okay, bro. Okay, thank you for that. We appreciate your contribution also. Next, we got my brother Reggie to present his second half of his argument. Impeach, or present your second half of your argument. Brother Reggie?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, I don't know about the time because I only speak for 7 minutes. I don't care what you said. I spoke fast, time bit. So I don't care about what you say. So don't start my time yet, right? Okay. So right now, okay, I got it. Just warming up my mouth because I'm gonna talk real quick. All right, I'm ready. Start my time, and give me 1 minute, 1 minute notice. All right, Savio, birthday boy.
I got you, Saber.
Yeah, birthday boy. Okay, so
you crazy.
Here you go. Okay, so you know somebody's argument is in trouble when they start dealing with your method and start throwing modern cases with lived people missing. That's exactly what's happening. You could convict for murder without a body. I got that. It's a cheap courtroom meme being misused to cover a total evidentiary collapse. In a modern no-body case, the prosecution still has to clear two fundamental hurdles before anything else. They must prove the victim existed,
We ain't got that. As a real documentary person, we don't have that. Nobody's proved that. They must show a trail of evidence that the real person disappeared under suspicious or were murdered under suspicious. We don't have that. Real evidence of a trial, right? We don't have that. That means birth certificates, right? All of those type of things. We don't have that. The body may be missing, but the person is not, because the person may never have existed. The life is anchored in hard records, long, how can I say, long before a jury even hears about this. And it's been 2026 years or something like that. In this Jesus case, cold case, you got none of that. Nothing. No birth record, nothing. No Roman census entry, nothing. Under no Judean register, nothing. You don't even have the bodies of the people who didn't die under the mysterious circumstances, right? Close to him. You have nothing, unless you look at the same circular story. They're trying to use a slogan drawn from other cases, right, of a missing corpse, right, to look at what we're looking at, this cold case with no evidence. There's no legal reasoning. That is apologetics with law and order costume. You don't have nothing. Then you go completely off the ranch to start talking about something else, but you don't want to talk about the body. You don't want to talk about the families. You don't want to talk anything about these church fathers, right? Now, a separate context from the event, right? Showing Pilate and Confucius existed proves you have a stage, not that you have a specific play that took place on the stage. You got Pilate and Caiaphas, but that's the stage. You don't have people on that stage. A separate belief from the evidence. Later people believing that Founder was crucified is not the same as a courtroom crucifixion. I separate internal faith literature from external documentation. Gospel narratives and church fathers are not automatically upgraded to police reports, especially we don't got none of the police. They were to erase all of those distinct. Their methodology is, if written somewhere, and fits into my faith, right? And that's supposed to count as proof. Nope, it don't count. It don't. In modern no-body convictions, the state knows exactly who the victim is. The victim is tied to a real address, real everything. In this particular case, the problem is we never dealt with A. The people, the person existed, and the people around him existed. We didn't deal with that. We're dealing with a story, respect to the belief, but a story. So how do we kind of look at this? They pretend Mark is a direct affidavit, right? Mark is not. It's hearsay. Mary Magdalene, respected Mary Magdalene, right? We don't have her affidavit. We got men writing for her, and we don't have her body. That would be very important. Paul, you got to throw out Paul and his visions and revelations, right? He's like the dude talking to mummies in 2026, right? You gotta throw out all of this extra stuff from people like Paul. Josephus and Tacitus, those are, if these men were trial clerks, they're trial clerks repeating what people believe decades later. You can't fix this. You can't fix the collapse. You can't, even if you got to establish Jesus living, you got to establish Jesus' family living, you got to establish the people around Jesus, right? You got to establish all of that. You don't have none of that. So, nice try. No evidentiary standard. Case should be thrown out. Respect your religion. Peace.
Okay. I think you had time left, but you want to give up your time?
No, I don't want to give up my time. I don't know.
You had about 30 seconds left.
No. You stopped my time, and then
You said when I told you you had 1 minute, you wrapped it up, and it was about 35 seconds left, Reggie.
Okay, then put my 30 seconds back on the clock. Don't
When
get
you start
scared.
speaking, time starts.
Don't get scared now. Right?
When you start speaking, time starts.
Don't get scared now. Don't go off to the ranch. You got to prove not just Jesus' body. There's a whole bunch of bodies you got to produce to even claim that that there was a crucifix of Christ. So don't get scared now. I want to see a whole bunch of bodies, not just one man. I want to see families. I want to see people claiming in the future that was my great granddaddy. You ain't even got that. Have a nice day. Nice try.
Okay. That was good. Interesting. I like where we going so far, y'all. So I'm about to close out with my last argument. Everybody good? We all good?
I really do want to respond to Reggie. I really do want to rip him from ear to ear right now. I really do want to do that, bro. I really so do want to do that right now.
After I'm done, y'all can go, okay? All right.
Yeah, I'll just take 3 minutes.
It's all gravy. All right. Share my screen on this, please. I want to start
when you start speaking.
Okay, hold on. I want to start off right with this. Is my screen showing?
I don't see it as yet. Oh, here it comes.
Okay. I want to start off with Eusebius of Caesarea, book number 12. Okay. Eusebius Caesarea, this is book number 12. I want to demonstrate some things. Eusebius, who I think somebody mentioned earlier, as an authority concerning. I want to bring to the table something that he says on 31. Eusebius says that it will be necessary sometimes to use falsehood as a remedy for the benefit of those who require such a mode of treatment. Now, Eusebius is accepted, right, as an authority within the Christendom, but it's very interesting that in this document, in his book, he said that it's necessary to use falsehood, right? I think that's very telling, right? And I'm telling you why it's telling, because what I'm going to do now is let's see, does that actually really happen, right? So we see that I want to introduce, I don't know if everybody knows what an interpolation is. Is my screen showing? Because before I go further, I'm sorry.
Yes, it is. It is now.
Okay. We want to look at this here, ladies and gentlemen. I want, for some of y'all may know what an interpolation is and some of y'all may not. So I'm going to introduce it. An interpolation among manuscripts. Interpolation in manuscript traditions is the addition of non-authorial wording to a text after its initial composition. The added material can be a single gloss, a phrase, a verse, or a larger passage. Interpolations arise through marginal notes that migrate into the text through harmonization, across parallels, through doctrinal ideology, expansion, and through the deliberate literary vision. Why am I bringing this up? Because throughout the gospel, interpolations are happening all over the place. For example, if we look at Mark, the Gospel of Mark, right? We see a lot of interpolations. A lot of us are familiar with the story of the prostitute woman. That's an interpolation. Why it is? Because it wasn't in any of the earlier manuscripts. So when I'm reading this document, I'm going, hey, interesting. This was not in the original, earlier documents. And it is known throughout academia that these are interpolations, meaning they were added. They were not inside the original documents. Now, Why do I say that? Because if I'm looking for reliability in a document, I have to authenticate, is that document reliable or not, right? So now, when I see things like this, stop sharing my screen. I'm sorry. When I see things like this, interpolations being added to the documents that were not in the original documents, I got a problem, right? When I look at also things like this, please share my screen again. Okay. Can you see it? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I want to look at, because we're looking at the 4 Gospels to see if they're reliable. So we're going to determine if these documents are reliable in my method. Okay, so I'm going to look at the discrepancies and the primary differences.
1 minute.
In the account, real quick.
And if you could pause your time, just like you asked me, I just want you to clarify what method is this specifically?
Of going through the documents side by side and seeing contradictions in the affidavits. You follow me?
What criteria is it being measured with by, like?
We're comparing
textual criticism.
Yeah, exactly. We're comparing the 4. I'm sorry, Gay, what you were saying?
I'm sorry. Before you started, just pause the time. Just how you asked me, like before, when I showed that information about the stylus statistical. What is this actual system?
This system is comparing the gospel stories, the gospel's affidavits on such things that happen. So the
term will be called textual criticism.
Yeah, so I'm going through textual criticism.
Yeah,
exactly.
textual critical analysis. Textual
critical analysis. Even the stylus statistical method is it's critical analysis.
Okay, so because what happens is when we read these gospels, right, we're crunching them all together as if they're saying the same things. But when you look at them side by side, they're not saying the same things. And I'm going to demonstrate that right now. So starting with the Gospel of Matthew, the question is, who visited the tomb? According to Matthew, it says Mary Magdalene, right? The other Mary is who visited the tomb. Yet when we look at the Gospel in Mark, it says Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James, and his sister Salome visited the tomb. Luke, however, says it's Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary, the mother of James, and other women. The Gospel of John says Mary Magdalene alone. So if we're comparing, right, the affidavit of who visited the tomb, depending on what gospel you read, you get something different. Okay, if I look at the status of the tomb, Matthew says an angel rolled it away in front of them during the earthquake. Mark says it was already rolled away before they got there. Luke says already rolled away before they arrived, so he agrees with Mark. And John says already rolled away before they arrived. So when we're looking at comparing the 4, just give me a little more minute. We're comparing the 4 of the stories. We're getting different stories. We get different stories from Matthew on, was it one angel sitting on the top of the stone? The other guy, Mark said there was one young man sitting outside the tomb on the right. Luke said there was 2 men standing outside the tomb with dazzling clothes. John said there was 2 angels sitting outside with Jesus' body. I can go on and on and on and comparing these documents or affidavits, and the witnesses are telling different stories, right? So I'm looking at this and reading and saying, this is not reliable. It's not reliable. I'm looking at different stories or different accounts depending on what gospel you read, which is why I say it's not reliable. I can't rely on it because they contradict each other at every turn. So that's my position. Plus, I can show whenever, or maybe another show, where Matthew and Luke are literally copying. I have the Greek text. They're literally copying off of Mark. And if that's so, you don't have 3 documents. You got 1. Because if Luke and Matthew is copying off of Mark, you don't have 3. You got 1. You got one. So which is why I vote, or my position is I don't find the stories reliable for me. You know.
Can I ask you a question? May I ask you a question? Is it possible for us to like shift gears and use this particular table that you have right here, and all of us go through it and address it, like the discrepancies that you're discussing? Is everybody okay with that or no? Because
No, I had a rebuttal to what you said about my stylometric data.
No, you can rebut. I'm not saying you can't rebut it, but you can rebut it, and also we could go through the table. You know that. I know you're going to rebut. So what I'm saying is, because what's happening, if I may add, because we're talking about a case, right?
Yes.
Everything is not going to be absolutely 100% uniform when you take different accounts from different people. You want to look at the core. And so far, even the two things you pointed out, the point that you said about the tomb, who was it? Was it the woman, Salome, Mary Magdalene? The core is that someone visited the tomb. That's uniform. And then when you go to talk about rolled away by an angel, or was it rolled away? The core is that it was rolled away. So I would like to, because if it was all absolutely matching, of course, we'd all know that that's not authentic, right? And then lastly, I would like to add, when you talk about the synoptic gospels, for me, that adds more authenticity, because there is still the Q source. And the Q source is back to what I always push, the oral tradition. That's what many scholars say, and that's what it points to. So I would love to use your table that you have here, that you created, after God Energy replies. If everybody is okay with that, that's fine. If not, I'm all right to just sit back, and maybe we could do it some other time. But thank you.
Yeah, can we do the chart like after God Energy rebuttals? Because I think that was an excellent point, upon when you spoke up and mentioned that even though there's some discrepancies in the four, what we can say, at least there was Mary was there, and that's at least somebody. We know what I'm saying. We see Mary.
Is there?
Yes.
Okay.
So
all right. Here's the issue in that, right? For me, since we talking about my table,
right? Yeah, good table, but I want to see what you say. Go ahead.
Yeah, we can go to that. But here's the issue, right, with my table.
You want to speak on that too, because you said something that I don't think people pay attention to, that I've been paying attention to for a very long time.
What's that?
So you talk about, everybody speak about the Mary, the mother of James. If James and Jesus' brother, why isn't she also mentioned as the mother of Jesus? But
that's a different Mary.
Huh?
That's not the same Mary.
Okay, hold on. Let me finish with Nepal real quick, so we can do this part, right?
What?
What?
Okay. So let me do this. What I was showing.
So that means they weren't brothers.
Hey, Nepal.
Yes.
No, that means
can you see my screen right now?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
That means they weren't brothers, Yara.
No, that just means there's two Marys.
That means
it doesn't.
They weren't brothers.
No, listen.
Listen,
real quick. There's three Marys in the story.
There's three.
Okay, Mary is a common name. Yes, it was a common name. There's three Marys.
Hold on, let me finish this, and then y'all can get into that. Okay, real quick, right? I did a comparison looking at the documents, right, of Matthew and Luke. And here's an AI breakdown, like you did. It says, what my breakdown perfectly exposes is how Matthew and Luke treated Mark as their primary source.
Right.
Most biblical scholars accept the theory of Markan priority, which argues that Mark was written first, and Matthew and Luke independently use Mark's text to write their own. So their source, right, is Matthew and Luke. And look closely at how Matthew and Luke edited Mark's original phrasing in my example. Fell beside the road. Here's the Greek, which is 100% exact copy across all three. It demonstrates now that Matthew and Luke saw no reason to change Mark's clear geographical description, so they copied it for letter. Excuse me. In this verse, the birds came, Here's the same exact wording, right? And phrasing, excuse me. Here are some additional choices. Matthew changes the main verb into a participle aphonta, having come, because he prefers a smoother, more elevated Greek style than Mark's simple repetitive grammar. Luke completely omits the verb came and later adds of heaven. So in academia, they're arguing, right, and presenting that, and it's kind of accepted in academia, that Matthew and Luke are copying. They're copying from Mark. So if Matthew and Luke are literally copying from Mark, then you don't have three sources. You have one source. You have one source, and that source is Mark, is what I'm arguing, right? Because they're literally, and we got the phrases and it literally shows, and scholars agree that they are copied. Mark and Luke are copied. So if I'm looking at an affidavit of a witness to a murder or whatever it may be, I cannot rely on these two documents because they're copying from the first source, Mark. So anyway, I give up the floor from there.
Yeah, that's the
Are we
Markian
still going in
priority.
the order?
Yeah. I think it's who's up next? I think I'm up
It would
next,
be
right?
you. It would actually be you, then King J, then me.
Okay, yeah, and I'm going. Yeah, so let me.
You can stop. Let me stop sharing my screen.
Okay.
Yeah, keep that handy though.
Oh yeah, I keep all this handy.
Yeah, I really want to talk about. So let me do this really quickly. I'm going to share my screen. And Sister Nepal, if it's okay, I'm going to share this document that I shared with you.
Sure. Yeah.
And that we collabed on, right? So are y'all seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is
now we do.
Okay, so y'all see this is a original work the Sister Nepal and I are developing together, right?
Oh, come on. You can't use your own source.
Listen. Hold on. Yes, I can.
No, it's actually pretty excellent work.
Oh, hold on.
That he put together.
Absolutely.
I'm messing with you. Bro.
I know. It's all good. But let's talk about this though, right? So, because we're going to deal with the evidence, right? We're talking about the Desponite, right? And so, let's talk about who they are and what this term actually is, right? So the Despoinai, right, is a Greek term, but it meaning those belonging to the Lord. And it refers to the biological and extended family of Jesus of Nazareth that Dr. Reggie actually asked for, right? So let's talk about it. So it says, while mainstream Western Christianity eventually minimized the role of Jesus' earthly family in favor of ecclesiastical authority, the doctrine of perpetual virginity, the first century Judean church was deeply dynastic, led sequentially by Jesus' brother James the Just and his cousin Simeon, son of Clopas, right? It says this paper examines the historical validity of the Despoinai, evaluating the secular external verification provided by Flavius Josephus outside the preserved eternal fragments of the 2nd century chronicler Hegesippus, right? Furthermore, it investigates how the Flavian and Anton Roman emperors viewed this bloodline not merely as a religious sect, but as a direct political threat to imperial stability due to their inherited claims to the Davidic throne. So now we don't just have Jesus' family, Dr. Reggie, but we also have motive as to why the Roman authorities wanted Jesus dead, right? So let's talk about this, right? So defining the Despoinai. In the immediate decades following the crucifixion of Jesus, the nascent Christian movement in Jerusalem was heavily shaped by Jesus' immediate family. The term Despoinai was explicitly preserved by the 3rd century chronicler Sextus Julius Africanus to denote Jesus' relatives according to the flesh, who operated out of the Judean villages like Nazareth and Kokaba. Rather than an egalitarian community, the initial mother church in Jerusalem mirrored a dynastic structure rooted in Jewish concepts and royal and priestly lineage. Now, what he talked about going forward is what Dr. Reggie said he actually needed to see, right? So the secular evidence, James the Just, historical analysis of the Despoinai must begin with James the Just, Jesus' brother, widely acknowledged as the brother of the Lord. Unlike many figures of the New Testament whose existence are debated by secular historians, James is verified by a premier non-Christian source of the first century, the account of Josephus in Antiquities of the Jews, book 20 and 9. The Jewish historian Flavius Josephus records the execution of James during a Roman leadership vacuum in 62 AD, less than 30 years after the death and crucifixion of Christ, between the death of Governor Festus and the arrival of Albinus, right? The textual proof. Josephus writes that the high priest Annas convened the Sanhedrin and brought forward the brother of Jesus, who was called Christ, whose name was James, sentencing him to be stoned to death. Historical weight. This passage is accepted by modern scholarship as highly credible external evidence. It proves that James held a prominent but public position of authority in Jerusalem and was widely recognized by his contemporary society, specifically due to his familial relationship to Jesus. Now let's talk about Josepian's fragments and the Roman Inquisitions. Dr. Reggie said he needed evidence of a trial, right? It says, because the Roman emperor viewed Judea through a lens of political disruption, any family claiming descent from King David was viewed with intense suspicion. The Roman historians Tacitus and Suetonius note that the Flavian emperors systematically sought to eliminate the royal house of Israel to prevent messianic revolts. So look at what he says. He says specific interactions between the despoinite, these are the relatives of Jesus. That's what that means. Those were the relatives of Jesus, his cousins, his uncles, his aunts, all those people, nephews, right? Roman authorities are preserved via fragments of Josepius from the early second century to late second century, 180 AD. An early Jewish Christian historian whose lost memoirs are extensively quoted by Eusebius and Sarah, a source you use, Morpheus, in the 4th century ecclesiastical history. Two primary trials illustrate the Roman crackdown, right? And so we know, going forward, you can see here Joseph, right? They have the adopted father here, but James and Jude, brothers, grandsons of Jude, Zochar, and James, they were interrogated by Emperor Domitian, dismissed as poor, right? Clopas or Cleophas was his uncle. Simeon, the son of Clopas, was his cousin, crucified by Governor Atticus under the Emperor Trajan. Right, the grandsons of Jude before Domitian. 1 minute. And so, if y'all look into this, I can go on and on for the sake of time, but I wanted to address something else with Dr. Reggie really quickly. Is this what I wanted to deal with? Is this what I wanted to deal with? Oh yes, my good brother. You talked about, let's see, is this the one? Is this the one I'm looking for? Yes, you talked about Marcion, my good brother, Guard Energy. You talked about how Marcion and his works, how he somehow created that which was a part of Luke's writing because Luke was made up. I think I did hear you say that correctly this last time, right? And then you brought out that Tertullian actually agrees with that. Well, that is wholly incorrect, right? Because Tertullian does not agree with that. What Tertullian actually says, right? And this is Dr. Holmes. He was a teacher philosopher at Wheaton.
I didn't say
College.
Tertullian agrees with that.
Okay, so Tertullian clearly tells us that what Marcion did was actually take the known Gospel of Matthew, right? And he actually took pieces out that did not agree with his ideology. That is actually Marcion in his renditions of the book of Matthew removed actual things from the book of Matthew. Right,
Luke. It's the book of Luke.
But things, right? Think that right here, right? As it correct as erasures from Luke, right? It says, "For he represents Marcion, right, as making use of these words for his favorite argument. But after all, Marcion that to be in Luke, which was only in Matthew, as he has done at least 3 instances, right? He goes on and talks about for certain passages of Luke where Marcion did, he just took stuff out. He erased stuff." Because he didn't agree with it. So you cannot use Marcion as credible because what we see Marcion is doing is fudging, he's altering evidence. He's the Mark Furman in the case.
You were 8 minutes.
He's altering evidence. So you cannot use Marcion in any way. He's completely impeached, as we saw Mark Furman in the O.J. Simpson trial. Why? Because he's using evidence. He's broken the chain of command. He's changing things at will. This is what Tertullian actually says.
You're 8 minutes.
Right? Okay, I'm sorry. And then I wanted to say something to Morpheus, bruh, but you gonna get away with it this time, bruh, because I can't get to it really quickly enough. But I wanted to say something to you, bro. But I'm gonna let you live.
Just hold. Yeah, hold the thought for a second.
I'm gonna let you live.
Let me live. Okay, cool. I appreciate it. All right. Who wanted to respond to him? God Energy or Red? Did you want to respond to Brother Yara?
No, I'll wait my turn. I'm just gonna address everything during my turn.
I think it is.
God Energy.
No, it's on King J. It's on King J.
God Energy. Go ahead and go next. I gotta
Hold up, everybody. The reason why I asked, because Yara addressed Brother Reggie.
Yeah. I take just 2 minutes.
Okay.
I just take 2 minutes, right? I don't need a lot. You don't have bodies. You don't have records that any of those other people related to Christ. You don't have their bodies. You don't have any extra biblical anything about their proof of life. You don't have proof of life nowhere. Then Eusebius, Morpheus brought up Eusebius, talking about falsehoods are necessary. You don't want to say anything about that because these.
Oh, that's what it was. I'm sorry. That's what I meant to talk about. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Thank you. So these are you don't have no bodies. You have proof of life of nobody, right? You have hearsay and rumors, and then you have Eusebius talking about falsehoods are necessary, and so the evidentiary record is tainted. It's tainted evidence. You can at least say that the evidence is tainted, but you won't even do that. That's the problem with this type of methodology. You won't even admit that there's tainted evidence. Now, whatever Paul's stuff is, right? Whatever Paul's letters, either all of them have to be true, because if one of them is false, that blows the whole thing up, because that means that in the Bible you have. If you say that any of them are falsified or any of them is not correct, right? Then you have tainted evidence in the Bible. You have tainted evidence everywhere, right? You have mixed it. None of this works in the laboratory of the courtroom. No bodies, no proof of life, no records outside the Bible. You got people who are writing it saying that they admittedly put in falsehoods. Eusebius, Marcion is closer to the evidence than Yara is.
Hey, can I say this really quickly? And then I'm gonna be done for the night. Just real quick. Can I take like 30 seconds? Right.
I'm getting skipped twice.
Yeah, I don't want to skip you. I just want to say this because I'm gonna leave, right? And then you can take as much time as you want, right? So, because I forgot to address this is what I was looking for. Morpheus, right? Yeah. When you bring out Eusebius, right? And then you went to book 12, specifically chapter 30, or specifically chapter 31, right? When he in his evangelical preparation, right? Eusebius of Sarah, when he used it, what he uses is the term in English is translated as falsehood, but actually in the Greek he uses the term pseudo, right? He uses the term pseudo, right? But he uses the term pseudo in this way, and you can go to the Tertullian Project, right? And I'll share this with you. He used the term pseudo. He says to explain how figurative or anthropomorphic descriptions of God in the Old Testament serve as helpful medicine for ordinary people who cannot grasp abstract divine realities. Not that he was making up things.
So he says, well, let me come back. So you're saying that the guy who admits, right, that is sometimes useful to use, and you're using the word pseudo. Now, we know what pseudo mean. We hear that word over here in the conscious community so much.
Yeah, always out of context, though.
Yeah, but pseudo.
In this community, yes.
What is the definition of pseudo?
Pseudo, here, I just explained it to you right here. Pseudo also can mean something figurative, just like what he's saying, to explain how something figurative or anthropomorphic, or the anthropomorphic descriptions of God.
Do you see right there where it says ask anything? Can you type in for the people to see the definition of pseudo, please? Because, like you said, the translation says falsehood. But here he said it's used pseudo. Right there where it says ask anything, right?
Right here? Yeah, okay,
yeah. Okay. What is the so just so we clear on what the definition of pseudo is. We hear that word over here 100 times.
Means false or lying.
Thank you.
See? Hold on. Listen. Stop. That's not. See that? Y'all always do that.
Wait.
Hold on. Stop. Y'all always do that. It doesn't mean the definition that you want it to mean. There are many different meanings in the classical Greek usage. Hold on.
Start from the top. Read from the top.
I'm about to do it. In Greek philosophy and linguistics, pseudo means a lie, falsehood, fiction, or fabrication. It is the root word for modern English prefix like pseudo. Key meanings in classical Greek, which is what we're discussing. Now watch this. The literal lie, an intentional statement made to deceive someone, or the fiction or myth. Watch this. A creative story or parable, a fable that is not factually true but carries a deeper allegorical meaning.
Right.
The error and mistaken belief of an untruth spoken without the intent. So listen to what I'm saying. You can't just take the definition you want and place it there. You have to use it in context. So when you read Eusebius and what he's saying we use.
Stop. Don't cut him off. Let him talk. Okay,
yeah, it said what he's saying is we can use parables, we can use fables, we can use allegory, because those things do teach a truth.
No, they don't. That's not what that says.
That's exactly what that says. Who can't read?
Yeah, right.
Let me read it.
Before we get too far, can I get to my turn, please? Before we get too far into, because this is going to turn into a whole debate. Let me get to my turn real quick.
You after me, God Energy.
Oh, you back? Okay. Oh, you back? All right.
Go ahead. Go ahead, because I do got to step away real quick, and I want you to be able to address Yara right here.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Yara, are you finished or you got more?
No, y'all. I want him to go ahead. I want the guy energy to go ahead to get his turn. Not jump in, but get his turn.
I'm gonna say this, and then I could be done. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When you start, time start. God isn't.
Oh, okay. So Marcion did not claim to correct or modify what he considered to be distortions in Luke. You feel what I'm saying? So just because you're taking Tertullian's word, Marcion had a word as well. And Marcion did not claim to correct or modify what he considered to be distortions in Luke. You know what I mean? And it's the later heresiologists that claimed that Marcion, quote unquote, mutilated the text of Luke by cutting out things like the virgin birth, places where Old Testament passages and figures appeared, and where Jews seemed very friendly or whatever the case may be. But Marcion's Evangelion did include Old Testament passages and figures. So those claims were, they had no basis, right? Marcion, he counted in his antithesis, he claimed that Luke was corrupt, in Greek adulteratum. And Tertullian, in his work against Marcion, Tertullian was writing a work called Against Marcion, where he is not supporting the claims of Marcion, but he is reporting what Marcion claimed, though. So in Tertullian's work speaking against Marcion, literally titled Against Marcion, he also has to accurately record what Marcion was pushing. That's where that came from, just to clear that up for you. So it was Marcion who also pointed a finger. He also made an accusation back at what you call canonical Luke, saying Luke is adulteratum. So the heresiologists wagged their finger at Marcion saying you took things out, and Marcion had his finger pointed right back at them saying your text is adulteratum or corrupt, right? So both sides are pointing fingers at each other. But what you miss out on is the context, because Marcion's Evangelion is earlier than canonical Luke, right? So that's where you show the primacy falling with Marcion, where these things were lacking in the original text, the text that Marcion claimed was Pauline. So, and the sources for this Marcion is Jason B. Dunn, The First New Testament, Marcion Scriptural Canon, or Marcus Vincent, Marcion and the Dating of the Synoptic Gospels, or Joseph B. Tyson, Marcion and Luke Acts, A Defining Struggle, or Matthias Klinghart's work called The Oldest Gospel and the Formation of the Canonical Gospels, right? So there's your sources. Now, with the stylometric data, right? If you go to the timestamp, I believe it's 1 hour, 43 minutes, and 40 seconds. What is up on the sister's presentation? It clearly says phraseology and diction is not of Paul, proving my point. Then she continues on, and in the very chart that she brings up, she herself says, when she read the undisputed section, she said it didn't fit the continuity. And that was the one caveat she gave, right? That also proves my point, right? Corinthians, where she pointed out how the creeds are the same. Corinthians was not one of the examples that I said. Corinthians was not one of the epistles that I said. Shows the stylometric data that it is from a different scribe, right? It was Ephesians, Colossians, and Thessalonians that I mentioned specifically, not Corinthians, which the focus was on. I also find it interesting, on the other hand, that Ephesians, Colossians, and Thessalonians were not gone to, right? And the creeds that were harped upon, something before the sister even presented, I said the creeds are the only continuous thing, one of the only continuous things you'll find in there. So I actually had no problem with the creeds, but the creeds also do not prove that all of these letters came from Paul and do not come from different scribes, specifically Ephesians, Colossians, and Thessalonians, right? So by omitting how the data shows these differences, the bias, the confirmation bias is on display. And cherry picking, where you can apply stylometric data to find continuity, that's what was presented. But the specific stylometric data that shows that there are differences was glossed over, even though in 2 instances it was displayed on the screen. So that was only my rebuttal to that.
Okay, real quick. But you got it on the screen showing, Brother Yara, how Eusebius adopted Plato's The Noble Lie. Correct? Is that what it said?
No, that's not what it says.
Go back up.
So look.
Stop right there. Oh, wait. Go back up, please. Right there.
I'm right here.
Medicinal falsehood.
Yeah, it doesn't say. It doesn't say Eusebius adopted that.
Yes, it does. Watch.
Okay, you're gonna
go back.
Watch. All right, where you want me to go now?
Stop right there. Medicinal falsehood. Plato in the Republic laws that a noble lie, genetic pseudos, or a useful fiction could act like a medicine.
Right.
For social utility, rulers and could use this tailored narratives to guide, protect, and instruct. Now watch this. Eusebius adoption. He adopted it. It's saying Eusebius adoption. He adopted exactly what Plato was teaching. He adopted.
That's not what that says, because this is two different things, bro. It's 2 different things, bro.
Listen, Eusebius adoption. What is he adopting? What is
read it.
Adopting?
You want me to read it?
No, I'm reading. This is the philosophical framework that Eusebius adopted. He argued that the anthropomorphic descriptions of God in the Bible, the hand of God or God becoming angry, are
pedagogical pseudos.
Yeah, pseudo beneficial. I got my class.
Yeah.
So Eusebius is adopting something, correct?
Yes.
What is he adopting?
He's adopting this philosophical framework, right?
Then he got from who?
They said, well, Plato used it first, right?
Right, that's what he
said.
says.
Plato used it first. No, but listen, he's not using it the same way Plato's using it. I don't understand what y'all can't read. This is a no. Listen, this is a completely different. Watch this, right? Plato argued in the Republic and Laws that a noble lie, again on pseudos or useful fiction, and could act like a medicine. But Eusebius is saying this: these are pedagogical pseudos or beneficial accommodations designed to help ordinary people. So hold on. What he's saying is he's using a parable.
No, he's adopting.
Listen. He's using. That's all he's saying is it's okay to use parables, like the horse and the like the horse, like the hare and the tortoise. We know that that's a fictional fable, right? That Aesop fable. It's used to teach a truth.
Oh, it says Eusebius adoption.
Hey, bro, listen. Hey, bro, that's not hard, bro. Hey, look, we can shelve that. That's not hard. That's not hard to understand what I just said to you.
Let me finish. So Eusebius adoption. Eusebius is adopting something. It says right here the philosophical context, which is the noble lie. This is what he's adopting.
No, that's not what that's saying, bro. Stop doing that, bro. That's not what that's saying, bro. Stop doing that.
Okay.
It's not what they're saying, bro. That's not what they're saying.
Wait.
That's why they give you three. That's why they give you three separate understandings, right? Of how this can be done.
But I'm asking you, as it says right here. If you go,
I gotta go to work in the morning. So I'll holler at y'all.
Okay.
Hey, peace to Sabio, man. Appreciate you, brother.
So when you see this in medicinal falsehood that Plato argued, and it tells you it's the noble lie, then it goes down to tell you Eusebius adoption. He's adopting Plato's philosophy. It says this is the exact philosophical framework.
That's not what you keeps adding. Listen, bro. Listen. What he's saying. When he talk about the philosophical framework, they give you three different concepts of that, right? And how you use it in context. You can't say the context is being used all the same. Okay. He's not using it in the same context that Plato is talking about in the Republic and Laws when he talks about the noble lie. He's not doing that here. Because what Plato does here, he's not giving us a parable. He's not giving us a parable.
There's nothing in here but a parable. What are you talking about parable?
Listen, bro. Yes, it is. See, you don't read. It says the fiction or myth. When it gives us the classical Greek meaning, it gives us three different understandings of this. Right. The literal lie. Hold on. The literal lie, which is what Plato is done. That's why it's called the noble lie, right? Then it goes to the fiction or myth, a creative story or parable or fable. That is not what? Listen. We know that. We know he's not saying, he's telling you, we're not telling you that the tortoise can beat the hare in a race. But what is the truth that the story is trying to convey? That's the truth.
Let me show you this. Watch this.
I don't understand why you don't understand that, bro.
Hold on. So now it's getting into a debate, and that's not what this was for.
That's true.
It's 11:41, and so next show you're gonna have to make a decision. But I think we're moving on to UAPs and some other type of for the next show. I do think yeah. So no, so we can't break our own rules. So I think God Energy is left. The only people here are you, me, and Brother Yara, and Nepal hasn't spoken in a while. So I say let's end the show. And
yeah, this was good. We can end this and
I would like to reply to him though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before you reply, so we don't get lost, right? Nepal, if I may, just 30 seconds, okay?
All right, go ahead.
Share my screen, please, because I want to identify the noble lie that we're referring to, that is talking about. What is the noble lie, right? The noble lie is a concept in political philosophy originating from Plato, the Republic, which he was one of Yahweh sources that we was going over. It refers to a myth or untruth propagated by an elite ruling class to maintain social harmony, establish a functional hierarchy, and preserve the stability of a nation, right? Plato argues that a noble lie is a useful fiction. It is not designed to harm the soul, but rather to unify the population of encouraging citizens to care for the state of one another. This is the noble lie in the source that Yahweh showed that I'm talking about.
But that's not what Eusebius, that's not what Eusebius, he's not using the noble lie. Why you keep saying that?
Because
the noble lie is only deals with political arenas.
Which is exactly
in the political arena.
Let me close. No.
That's why they give you the three separate examples.
Right.
The disagreement, and it's off. We were talking about. It doesn't matter what I want to say. It matters what Nepal wants to say, and then we're gonna close. I'm gonna close the show. I got the control.
Yeah,
so I don't care.
Okay. I just wanted to reply to the brother about the information. So, I don't know. I don't want to beat a dead horse, so to speak, but the statistical results show that the 7 letters are undisputed. I mean, he left, so conveniently, but I wanted him to clarify what he meant by that. I mean, I could show the table again, but is that necessary? Should I show it again? I could just quickly show it, and or just because it's so complicated, I'll just show a quick bear with me. I want to get this up here, what I just added to the dang. See, you guys, I don't mind if you take a long time because I obviously lost it. Well, whatever. You guys want to close down?
Yeah, no. What they in Nepal? What they say in church? Take your time. Take your time.
She's not on time.
I don't want. I had it, and I have so many tabs open. Basically, where is it? I think it's this one with the overview, where I was showing where it says that it is Pauline 100%. In fact, he said a lot. He said he was showing me something about phraseology. At the end of the day, the jury is in, and the results were that it was 100% undisputed. I mean, it's not even that part. It's not even a big deal, to be honest. I don't even want to get into it. It's clearly that those letters are undisputed. I think on this panel, we all agree that there are 7 undisputed letters, and then there were. Okay, so I don't even have to. I mean, thank you for having me here. I do want to get more into the witnesses and the creeds. I mean, y'all are
made a great point.
Sleeping on that. So yeah, thank you to everybody for having me here.
Okay. Yeah, man, this was good. Everybody else fell off, so it's only the 4 left standing.
Oh, and one more thing. I had to do it like everybody else. Y'all always say, wait, one more thing. I want to say that God Energy did agree that the creeds are not a part. There's a, like, how do you say it? When you look at the math, it's like it spikes in the analysis when it's in the statistical analysis. With the math, when it gets to the creeds, it spikes. So that shows that the creeds, which are pre-New Testament writings, I want to beat this in, pre-New Testament writings are the strongest proof of eyewitnesses, and you can't get around them. Thank you so much. Thank you, brothers.
Well said.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Reg.
Thanks,
it's on
Reggie.
you.
Welcome to the round table. Leave your beliefs at the door, the round table. We're round table, where knowledge is the only currency. Sign at the studios, Black News 102, the round table. The round table. Welcome to the round table, 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 table.
Yes, sir.
Still here. I'm gonna play it one more time.
to the round table. Leave your beliefs at the door, the round table. Where knowledge is the only currency. Sign at the studios, Black News 102, the round table. The round table. Welcome to the round table. Leave your beliefs at the door, the round table. Where knowledge is the only currency. Sign at the studios, Black News 102, the round table. The round table. Welcome to the round table. Leave your beliefs at the door, the round table. Where knowledge is the only currency. Sign at the studios, Black News 102, the round table.
Good, right? Yeah.